constantly being implemented and figured out. So I absolutely agree with you. I think things are still very much being learned, and I just can't wait to see how every different region handles it.
A lot of these regions have been changing their play styles, and I think North America, when we take back a look at the overall landscape, is known for being incredibly flexible. We have a bunch of different teams good at so many different things, and not a ton of hardcore specialists just yet. And Shroud-X versus Techie, we're gonna get underway. Map number 1 in this best out of 3 will be Hell's Heaven, and a Loki ban comes out first for Shroud-X. That's already different than normal, right, Shib?
Yeah, we've been seeing a ton of
Hello, guys.
Bans. I mean, Loki incredibly strong. Obviously, not as great in terms of the flying compositions, and flying has been incredibly powerful here across the board for America. So we'll see, they got that Ultron, because Ultron enables your flyers with Torch.
Ini lagi grupnya Amerika kan, terus ada beberapa grup yang gue suka, ada beberapa tim yang gue suka, jadi gue pengen lihat gameplaynya biar nggak perlu rekam, jadi gue stream sekalian watchalong. Ini nonton di Twitch BTW. Gue baru kepikiran buat watchalong tuh hari ini. Sebenarnya gue udah nontonin dari kemarin kan, cuman gue baru kepikiran hari ini karena gue mastiin dulu mereka nih boleh mirror stream atau enggak. Ternyata boleh, banyak yang mirror stream, jadi ya udah gue stream juga aja biar bisa nyimpen gameplaynya.
Trying to diversify their bans a little bit. Shroud-X, maybe trying to pigeonhole Techie into running a triple res composition.
Semalam gue juga nonton yang Amer padahal, tapi nggak streaming karena belum tahu boleh mirror apa.
I think it goes something along the lines of Magneto into Emma, then Strange. I initially thought Groot was going to be up there, but these teams just aren't seeing as much value. I think it's just due to the fact that Punisher is in such a strong state right now, can absolutely melt through those walls. But yeah, I mean, I think Strange is incredibly strong. The Eye of Agamotto, the recent buff to his E so that he can actually have an extended range, which helps him with his ultimate, right? So the way that his E's change work is you now no longer have damage fall off on that circle around you. So when you use that Eye of Agamotto, the souls get popped out of the bodies. And what you may not know this in the audience, whenever you press your E, it'll deal damage to the person, and then their soul that's knocked out from the Eye of Agamotto. With no damage fall off, it's max damage to both of them, helping you secure those KOs. So
ini suara gue bakal agak nabrak-nabrak sama casternya, gak apa-apa ya.
I like this deviation from Shroud-X. Actually, I think they had a very strong ban phase. If they
gue jadi caster ketiga.
If you force them to ban out Emma, you force them to ban a lot of Vanguards out, you could run sort of that Captain America dive that we saw in the EMEA region. I think it's very strong. And also, the last ban onto Mantis is smart. You get rid of Invisible Woman. I'm not sure if that's 100% the best.
Ini gue seneng banget nontonin gameplaynya si Tap yang tadi pakai Silo. Dia makro mapnya bagus banget. Kemarin gue liatin.
I mean, I like that sort of a 2-for-1 ban. I know that's sort of an interesting discussion. People like, oh, Mantis isn't that good. But when we talk about, I think they showed the stats yesterday as well as with those damage boost numbers that Mantis provides. I think that 12% definitely goes a long way, especially in the Adam Warlock triple res composition that we've seen is super strong, and then also in that Ultron comp.
Yeah, that's one of those things that we've been seeing more is the damage boost, whether it's from Cloak, whether it's from Mantis, finding a ton more value in these compositions, especially as you have something like Torch, who's able to just deal so much damage and come down from the skies onto some of those fire pits and just explode the backline. We're going to see a teleport here off the rip here from Dongmin, trying to get somebody potentially kidnapped.
On the opposite side, Techie, with those kidnapped, like you said, maybe just teleporting right to point, and everybody's playing together. Shroud-X aware of that and hearing the portal, now understand Techie's gone to the point. They are, by the way, Shiv, running Cloak and Dagger and Jeff as their backline duo, relying heavily on the heals from the Cloak and Dagger and Shroud-X ultimate that is Eternal Bond.
Yeah, I think they're going to be running that Jeff NATO. We haven't seen too much of that in this tournament. A couple times, and teams resorting towards heading that way towards later on in the fights. But we are going to start off here with a little bit of a neutral. Everyone just kind of dancing around that cover. You'll see these teams playing around natural cover a ton because it just, can't be broken. So it just provides angles and they don't have to burn cooldowns. And Purity got to find Avery early there on the thing. We haven't seen a ton of the thing. We can have a conversation about that. But I am very curious as to their thought process. It must be due to damage reduction there. But good tackle again. Wolverine got to get tackled tackled right back as Nut finds Tap. And Waffles, Tap going to take out Vision. Numbers row actually heavily going to be on the side of Shroud X. We're going to win this fight early, which does typically lead to a better chance of taking this first map.
Well played from Shroud X. Like, you're right. We can't have that discussion. I think with the thing, it kind of does a similar thing to Hulk as well. As you know, your brawly style, you kind of play together. Also, you get that team up with Wolverine, which is definitely underrated. I think that
kemarin nggak nonton Shroud itu lawan siapa ya?
With Demon just chucking his or getting chucked earlier by his like Hulk, it's kind of the same thing, right? That team up is definitely underrated. You can just throw in the Wolverine, getting kidnapped out of the sky in terms of, you know, on that storm or whoever may be available. Right now, Shroud X doing a great job setting up the Wolverine player as Doom sets up on the play.
It's essentially like a boomerang, right? You throw the Wolverine behind the back line, he dashes somebody back into your team. Doom's going to hold that high angle, trying to find a point to where that play can work out. We're going to immediately see the pop here from Punisher, potentially finding one. Does. Donovan goes down early. And you see the invisible boundary up now. Crystals get popped too. Tap's unable to find any more value off that, but it is a pretty decent trade as Techie's heavily up in ultimates here, as we do see the Eternal Bond there from Coke as well.
Yes, interesting fight from Shroud X. I mean, now they're just sort of backing off the objective, sort of just lost it for free. I mean, they used that boundary like you mentioned, but Techie winning with the Cloak and Dagger ultimate out. Just able to kind of run through with Tap like you mentioned, and now in this upcoming fight they've got the combo. Jeff NATO is available alongside both Vanguard ultimates. Shroud X meanwhile don't have a lot to react to it. Maybe with the thing, maybe with the copy, something is doable, but for Shroud X definitely going to be a hard upcoming fight.
Such a difficult decision to decide whether you want to copy early to prep, and they do have to copy out enough now. Immediately going to see that boundary out. Well played there. The Jeff NATO, though, can go right through there.
Oh my god. Jeff NATO. Gue baru ngeliat mereka mainin Jeff NATO.
It's max value. You and I kind of had that discussion that Cloak and Dagger might be the best chance you have at separating enough to not have your whole team being eaten as Techie sweeps them all through here and tries to even out the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, they're going for a little bit of spawn camp play, but you're right. I think that the Cloak and Dagger is better at the hero. Actually, the team that I think played best around this Storm Jeff combo, which all they did to avoid it was just split like crazy, was Solaris against Team Envy. They did a really good job at splitting, making sure only one person got eaten. In this case, Shroud X did not play well around it and just kind of took it to the face. Here comes Techie again in an aggressive fight with the Silent Seduction.
Yeah, it's almost a conversation of if you just kind of want to let it happen and not burn any ultimates there, as Nuck finds Avery early. Numbers up now in favor of Shroud X. You're going to find this off angle.
Oh, is.
Great bubble there by
nice save banget magnetnya.
That's one, make that two, three on Vision as well. Absolutely pop it off as he sweeps four. Tap on an absolute rampage, and I see a demon out here on not only the Psylocke but the Punisher, as they are at 91% in climbing.
Tap, I think inarguably has a very strong argument for being one of the best duelists in North America. Now, upcoming portal play comes through. Techie trying to get this touch on the objective at the very least, and maybe force Tap out of his position on the high ground turret.
Yeah, I like the position there. Be prepped and ready for that portal because you know it's coming, and just has that turret ready to try to get ult back quickly, as it does give you a ton of charge if you're able to get some strong fire. We might see this again with the Jeff NATO. Jeff is going to link up. You can actually press a button to connect directly to the tornado instead of using the ultimate prior. Vision finds Tap with an early pick. Vision gets three. Vision wants to even out the numbers as Dongman takes out Blur, and Shroud X is back in this thing, holding the point with 61%.
Yeah, great momentum shift there from Shroud X. Vision taking advantage of the CC reduction, or rather the inability to CC the Punisher with the Unstoppable, right? Just kind of running in there. Avery and Ad could not eat him, and then he just kind of walked forward, took all the damage output onto that Storm, onto that Jeff, and unfortunately the link up was just a little bit too late, like you said, Shib. And now upcoming, Shroud X have that Psylocke ultimate. The Dance of the Butterflies available. Techie has no Shroud X ultimates to deal with it.
Yeah, they do have ult advantage. Doom's going to have it here, as well as Dongman. We did hear the discussion that Capsule is essentially another strategist ult. Doom going to find one on Ad in the back, and that's a start off early for Shroud X. Ultimates are being popped up with the Meteor M. Brute not able to find anything there, but Doom's going to take out Avery. Dongman on the Woofles, and this might go right back to Shroud X, who sweep the point back and hold on to it and take map one likely. Shroud X. There's a touch there from Tap.
Yeah, and with the teleport to go down to Jeff earlier, making sure he was the one to teleport. But now, I mean, it's going to be a tough fight, and they don't touch for a second. And unfortunately, lose round number one. Shroud X stood in that map on Frozen Airfield to get the win. Now we go to Eldritch Monument Shib, and I don't know, maybe we usually see that Jeff combo with like a 3 Shredidus combination, so it's not often we see Jeff as that, backline with Cloak and Dagger. Usually we see a 3rd Shredidus alongside it. I don't know, did you like that? What do you think of that overall combination between the Storm and the Jeff with the Cloak and Dagger as your only other strategist?
Yeah, I'm so back and forth on the conversation of Jeff NATO. I know how strong he can be, but it's almost like you just got to sacrifice that fight sometimes and just prep for the next one. Obviously, it depends on charge, on point, but I just have not seen it sweep too much besides one game with FlyQuest there where it had a ton of value. I'm with you. I just don't love it on a double strategist, but yeah, as we are going to see that switch off now, it looks like they're not going to be running it this time around. At least maybe, and they might be using the rocket pack, so we'll see if that changes up from ad here again. And they do want to run it again, but it seems like they kind of built that. Yeah, they are going to run it again. Seems like they built their comp and their banning phase around this composition, so I think they're going to be committed to it. And let's see if it works out for them on that too.
And the tough part is they had a lot of strategist focus. Shroud X banned so many of them on the Techie side. And by the way, we have word apparently that Doctor Strange Protect was the first we've seen on Domination in North America for the side of Shroud X, prioritizing that hero. Dongman now setting up on the dive, looking for that dive with Doomed. I mean, look how much damage already coming in with that Cloak and Dagger and Jeff.
Freedom Charge is ready, and with Cap, you essentially have a second life if you use that properly. Tap gonna pop ultimate here again. Invisible Boundary goes up. Will they be able to find any picks here? Ton of damage out, and there goes that Freedom Charge, keeping the team up on point and just stalling as long as possible. As we also see the Eternal Bond. Eye of Agamotto gets popped. It finds a few, but I'm not sure that it got too many. Not too much value there. Great turret up there for Tap. One of the smart little things you can do with Punisher is use that turret as an iframe to avoid stuns, like the Eye of Agamotto. Really well played there by Tap to make sure he does not get popped out. His soul stays inside that body, as we do see Avery popping the Hurricane here. Doomed gonna find Tap. Vision on Avery and Ad, and wow, Shroud X really turned that around and did not let that tornado get much value.
Yeah, they're probably going to swap off this at this point. I think that their combination is just not panning out. It's been constantly negated with Shroud X in terms of their positioning, especially on this map. It's so easy to sort of fan out, and then also Vision holding on to his Punisher ultimate, waiting for
Jeff Nedo tuh kalau misalkan
he can't be eaten if he just presses his Q button.
Di match biasa kayak misalkan kita yang main bukan pro itu nggak bisa di counter aja, tapi kalau di pro scene tuh pasti mati duluan, pasti nggak dapat banyak. Keren banget.
Yeah, you very much. It's essentially a counter. If you're using Punisher to counter the Jeff NATO, it's very similar to something like Nito's Meteor M.
Iya, tapi nge-counternya harus pakai
with that final judgment. So you just got to treat it like a counter, try to burst that Hurricane down.
Harus pakai ult lain yang nge-shreds, soalnya shieldnya gede.
For the heals, good placement there and great avoidance here by Nuck in the high position here, using that Terror Cave to get some damage boosting out. It's just holding on to this point.
Yeah, I mean, they're just locking it down, right? You have that Cap kind of being a nuisance, running around like you mentioned. Eventually, Avery is able to get on him, and that's what you need. You need the Storm player kind of lock in. Here comes Doom on the backside with the Dance of Butterflies, cancels it to just go back for the health pack, play around, just be very annoying. But Tap as well on the point, drops the Punisher ultimate.
And Tab is gonna try to find something here early on. Crystal's got to get
Tab, kenapa sih dari tadi ngincernya tanknya mulu? Tanknya duluan.
Teleport, and this is the tough discussion. Using that teleport prior to a final touch, and instead just to hold point, ended up working out for them immensely. As Impunity's been holding on to these ults, not even needing them, playing an incredible game here on Strange Vision. 20-4 with 12 finals. Just so well done here by Shroud X. It looks absolutely clinical on this domination.
I mean, Techie's got the combo coming up in a moment as well. Brute's still holding on to his Meteor M. They've teleported toward the objective. Iabog is there for Impunity. Oh my god, that's everybody!
And will they follow up? We do see the invisible boundary. Fidel's going to find ads. We won't be seeing that tornado on this final fight here. And it's just still going to be a bit of a stalemate. Vision on an off angle.
Dapat semua tapi strateginya dapat semua tapi nggak ada.
It's not going to be a Jeff NATO at this point. Unless he can fly in here quickly. Vision's going to find Brute Dominant on the top.
Gila.
Fidel, but Vision again. Impunity on the blur. And Shroud X is going to take this back and take home the W on map 1. Really well done here by Shroud X.
Yeah, unfortunately, the strategy was just hard countered. Nuck as well with the copy on top of it just to make sure that nobody else is there and just, zones the point. But regardless, Shroud X played it perfectly. I mean, the game plan was obvious. Just delete the Storm, delete the Jeff with the Punisher ultimate and avoid everything else. Allow time for this dive to come through with the
Kenapa masih di keep deh Jeff Nado?
So that tandem, that
Udah
duo was
tahu
perfect. The only
Punisher
downside is that I think
nge-shred
that they could have maybe
shield
eliminated people
anjir
a little
ulti.
bit faster on their dives, but Doom was doing a great job picking off Ad, making sure that Jeff was constantly down, and anytime that combo was up, it was just not valuable whatsoever. Pretty much an ultimate that was kind of wasted, and that's it's unfortunate because you commit so much to that composition, to that strategy, and just to have it totally ruined. You would have hoped to see Techie maybe transition off that faster, right? Transition to a different composition, but regardless, I think they were kind of stuck on it, maybe because of the situation of an unsigned team. You know, maybe their coaching is something or whatever. It didn't work out, and unfortunately, didn't switch off the composition, resulting in a map 1 loss.
Yeah, I do think it was just beautiful play there by Vision on the Punisher and Nuck to hold on to those crystals to the final second just to ensure that they could essentially reset health bar there for Vision so he can keep his focus on to that NATO. And yeah, you see it right there as Vision takes that out immediately. So really good job countering. A lot of teams in ladder may say, oh, you know, Jeff NATO is broken. Watch how these teams are doing it. This may help you in the future. And they don't even need the Magneto bubble to keep the Vision up. So he just absolutely pops off here, sweeping the team nearly every time. So really smart play. I think this game potentially was won in the ban phase. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, that feels like this tournament has resulted in that situation. I know that there's been big controversy with the players complaining. You know, we're like, oh my God, everything is decided in the ban phase. We can't adapt. It's like, I mean, we've seen the good teams adapt, right? We've seen the good teams been able to change the composition and also, you know, have such an interesting game plan. That's the crazy thing, is that you think about not only what you ban, but what you're putting the enemy team on. That's the most important thing for sure. And for ShroudX, they knew with the strategist focus that Techie XD was going to be forced onto a weird composition. They got the Cloak and Dagger, but after that, I mean, they had the Jeff, and that's not really working out with the Storm, considering they just got countered by that Punisher. So really well thought out by ShroudX and their coach. So we'll see if they can close it out. Obviously, that's just map number 1, Shiv, but pretty good map number 1 for them.
Yeah, it goes back to what we've seen over previous seasons. The Loki pick, Nuck, MVP there, most damage on any strategist, and the most healing. Just really finding clutch moments with those crystals and really showing the power of Loki, not only helping burn that tornado, but just providing so much pressure, making teams look all over the place, and just doing a great job owning that high ground, which is very impactful on that map specifically. And I just think that was a masterclass there. And they've got to change something up in these bans. We need to see something different from Techie.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to see something different from Techie. We'll see if they do it on map number 2. It's only a best out of 3, so they have 1 map to decide what that option is. We're going to get a short break. We'll see you guys for map number 2 in just a bit.
Nggak diliatin ini bracketnya. AFK dulu ya, ngantuk. Masih 4,5 menit. Gue suka banget tahu sebenarnya skin Magneto yang ini, Aura. Wih, tapi gue nggak main Magneto.
쓰러지지만 끝까지 일어나야 해 어딜 가든지 극복해 힘은 너에게 있는 걸 소리 높여 노래를 불러 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 가슴을 쳐봐 어둠이 떠 날 때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 되새기며 어둠이 떠 날 때까지 새기며 오랜 시간 간직해온 열망 까만 밤의 빛처럼 빛나 네 눈앞에 바로 어떤 나라 탑을 딱 봐도 스파스타 딱 보면 모르나 널 지킬 나란 걸 꼬집혀볼수록 점점 빠져들어 카리스마 넘쳐 흘러 oh yeah 분명한 소리 들려 여기서 저기서 날 찾으며 달빛이 날 비춰와 시작이야 let's go 어둡고 혼란한 우주 따뜻한 눈으로 감싸나 숨들 신비롭게 녹아내릴 거야 좀 더 기다려 I'll be there 쓰러지지만 끝까지 일어나야 해 어딜 가든지 극복해 힘은 너에게 있는 걸 소리 높여 노래를 불러 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 가슴을 쳐봐 어둠이 떠 날 때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 되새기며 눈이 부신 모든 순간들 지켜내야 해 내게 주어지는 꿈꿔왔던 너와 나 그래 그래서 네 운명에 The weight of the both the words is in our hands 작은 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 가슴을 쳐봐 어둠이 떠 날 때까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 되새기며
Welcome back, everyone, as we dive into Game 2 of Techie versus ShroudX. ShroudX looked incredible on that domination map. What'd you think?
It was a great match for ShroudX. I think that they showed that their game plan was pretty straightforward. Just make sure you press Punisher ult whenever Storm came in with Jeff, and it worked every time. Also, just play Loki. I mean, we've heard people talk about how strong that character is as well. It's interesting because I think we were having this discussion a little bit how, you know, this roster is very talented but haven't really fully come together. Maybe now they are, and the game plans worked out. Like we said, they put Nuck on that Loki. Easy MVP for sure. I think a lot of people talk about how good this hero is. I know I was watching Schmuggus versus L9 over in the EMEA side, and I know how they were complaining about how strong Loki was when they lost. And, you know, there's obviously a multitude of things on why Techie lost, but Loki was definitely one of them, right, Shib?
Yeah, I mean, just to kind of clarify it, Loki was banned 50 times. You heard me right, 50 times in the first weekend. So that goes to show you how strong the hero can be in the right hands. A ton of utility with those crystals. It's essentially a way to negate ultimates with a cooldown outside of his ultimate, which can copy any strat line ultimate. So incredibly strong. Definitely saw the value there as Nuck MVP that. One of the things we need to discuss here is the fact that Techie last time got 2-0'd on domination and really showed up in the next map on Araco. So we are going to be pushing forward to Yggdrasil's Path, which is going to be a convoy map, which I know that Techie can play very strong. Let's see if we, you know, they got to change the bands up here.
Yeah, maybe you mentioned it during the break, prioritize some Shredditus protections, and here we go. Maybe we're going to get a Luna Snow Protect early on. And it is interesting because this is something that we also discussed, is that Techie, not only are they the only team without substitutes, because, by the way, they are complete, you know, 6 players just locked in together, they also do not have a coach. So they're the only team left in the North American side that doesn't have a coach. I believe, wait, ShroudX, I think it says they don't have a coach as well, but they might also have somebody behind the scenes who helps them out. And they definitely have Kendrick on the bench as well. So Techie XD, truly the team that just themselves, 6 players in the server, and the fact they've made it this far just by, proxy of not having an organization to back them, just playing as 6 players is very impressive in itself. And also it's hard to do this ban phases. It's hard to figure out what heroes to ban and to protect. And right now, Shroudx prioritizing that Loki, getting rid of the Invisible Woman and Loki early. Meanwhile, Techie XD focusing on Vanguards yet again.
Yeah, we are going to see a similar ban out here. You do see potential, or they do lock in Luna. That should help them a fair amount. But I do think ShroudX is just really kind of owning these banning phases, really targeting things that is going to mess with the minds of Techie XD. Right now, at this moment, as the Emma is banned out, I was thinking there could be some potential to see tap back on the Psylocke with Brute on Emma. We know that that unleashes the potential of taps. One, absolutely demolishing the strat line, but another lock-in of Dr. Strange. Just, if it ain't broke, don't fix it strategy here for ShroudX.
Yeah, Techie not really deviating away from the original game plan. I mean, they did lock the Luna Snow this time, but they're still going with the same bans on Vanguards. However, ShroudX, they showed, we're totally fine doing that. And we've heard the similar mindset in other regions where, maybe we don't care too much about the Vanguards, right? Maybe that's not the priority as people are overvaluing Emma Frost maybe, or overvaluing Magneto. Techie, meanwhile, locking in their very own Magneto. So a little bit more focus towards those heroes and less towards the strategist, whereas ShroudX are pretty much doing the same exact thing, except getting rid of Emma this time.
Yeah, I do like the change up here for Techie, though. They are going to have some more sustain and just, some more survivability in the backline there. We are going to see Luna. But I'm curious to see this shake out. I think Yggdrasil is really strong Doctor Strange map. You're going to see Donovan back on the Doctor Strange, but a really good Strange last map. It has those portal wall offs, which we haven't seen much of in a long time. I mean, it kind of fell off as the maps became less too open, in terms of the spawn.
Gue lupa banget kemarin Techie itu lawan
This map still very much has a few of those where they can just sweep the team to get a pick, wall them off, and just get free space for days. So we'll see if that works out from here as we push into map 2. Can ShroudX get it done?
Probably, but we will see. I mean, obviously, that's a question posed to the viewers, but I figured, for funsies, answer it real quick. But for ShroudX, they're looking pretty damn good right now, and unfortunately for Techie, I don't think they really reacted too well to what ShroudX are doing. Maybe they're thinking it's map dependent. Maybe they're thinking that on Yggdrasil, like you mentioned, Shib, how you brought up a great point, how maybe, on the previous one, it was less prioritized for their composition, maybe less good for their composition, but regardless, I feel like the best ban strategy is to just react to what your opponents are doing, right? I mean, they're playing Captain America. They're not even playing Emma Frost. They're playing Psylocke Dive, and you're not even targeting that. So it is interesting from Techie's perspective that they've not really deviated too much, too far away from the original game plan, except just adding Luna Snow.
I love this portal play off the rip here. Puts a ton of pressure into the back line and takes out some free space. Everybody in the back here going to be taking substantial damage. Great pick off there to drop that turret early. As they try to take space, Vision going to shut down Blur early with an early KO. Techie XD going to be down 1 on the attack, but I like the position there from ShroudX. They sense that portal coming and push their entire team forward, so it didn't get a ton of value. You may be thinking they may want to relocate that portal a little bit, as it was more in a traditional spot. The team was kind of out of LOS there, as they do lose one early on the side of Techie. You're going to be on the high side here. Great positioning, as this is where you want to see your duelists in these early fights around this corner, which is very much favored for the defense.
Yeah, Shroud is sort of slowly defending right now, maybe letting Impunity set up his dive, surround them sort of like a constrictor snake, right, just setting up on these flanks and making sure that dive will be perfect onto either strategist or whoever it may be. Cooldowns used, some daggers in that middle side, but once that cooldown's gone, now they know
lawan si Tinggi.
Early tap as well.
Benar-benar.
Wow, Nuck, Vision, Impunity finding 3 there, make it 4 as they push through. ShroudX not afraid, launching that Eye of Agamotto and already back to 22%, using the Guardian Shield.
Typo lagi.
That's it. And
Biarin lah.
Almost an even trade, as we're going to have 3 ults on both sides ready, soon to be 4 for both, as Impunity trying to build up there for Cap. But these fights have looked really good for ShroudX, who are very patient and not overcommitting these ultimates. Blur going to be playing the Groot. We haven't seen Groot yet today. Groot, a very strong pick here. Still definitely viable in the meta, but Strange has been taking more of a seat in the front of the car. And there's going to be a Hurricane early, taking Fidel and Vision, and that is more impactful careful than I thought it was going to be as they lose too early. Techie XD getting some momentum here, trying to find this cap in the back line.
Well, that Luna getting through is definitely the catalyst. I mean, Avery winning with the ultimate was able to be saved by that dance floor. So the cleanup comes through from Techie XD. Everybody came through to support. You have the Snowflake as well on Avery, so you get a little bit of healing from that dance floor as well. So great combination of those two ultimates, a little bit stronger than the previous map.
Yeah, Avery was getting KO'd a ton in Dom, and I do think Crystal is changing things here. Great portal play. The idea there is to wall off the heals in the backline, but the whole team resorting to actually finding that off angle, so the portal didn't get that much value on blocking. Blur going to find vision there as Blur finding a ton of KOs here on Groot. Can use that strangling prison, and they are going to find a few more as Groot takes out Vidal. Techie looking like they might get point one relatively early as Avery takes out Impunity. Goes that all here. Dancing the butterfly from Doom, going to find Tap, but that is not going to be enough as they push through point one.
I mean, maybe it is just slight adjustments, not overreacting. Techie, all they needed was that Luna Snow alongside Cloak and Dagger. Now you have a real backline, right? No offense to Jeff, but he doesn't have Shredder's ultimates. He doesn't have, a team-wide transcendence. I mean, just like an overall ability to just keep yourself alive, max HP, like Fate of the Worlds does, like Eternal Bonds does. So Techie, now maybe with a more formidable backline, looking a lot stronger. Meanwhile, Shredex, they have Shredder's ultimates to commit, but it's against Tap, who has that Punisher ultimate ready to go, and oh no, Blur got picked off.
Yeah, Doom going to be making a switch there. Just going to turn Groot into a scratching pose with a Wolverine, and that is a smart decision to help shut down some of this momentum. This corner here is like the corner of Doom, as no one seems to press through it quickly. Doom trying to find more value as they find Groot. Groot goes down with Impunity. Good combination there by Doom and Impunity to keep the comms open as they will be diving together aggressively over these next two fights.
I guess sometimes the neutral does matter, and the neutral is just before any ultimates come out, right? That's what we just saw. Didn't find a pick, traded back on Techie's side, but they couldn't take advantage of the space. Now, walking up into a defensible position from Shredex.
Yeah, and Cap just kind of holding his high side, doing what Cap does, starting to dance and ready to keep the pressure onto these strategists. Holding onto that freeze, waiting until Cap puts shield down. Avery going to pop out the Hurricane, doesn't get anyone. Down go the Crystals. Great work there by Nuff to keep the team up. And ults are popped back and forth. Out goes Final Judgment, not able to get anything yet. Out goes the turret too. Right back from Tap, who does turn that in his favor. Make that two. Do I see three? Will they get four? As Tap is now showcasing what they can do as the entire team falls. And Techie XD is looking to press through this first point, or second point, excuse me.
I mean, they didn't really focus that Eternal Bond committed by the other side of Techie when, Ad just went flying past the face of Vision. Now, in this upcoming fight, they have a slight advantage, right? Doom does have that last stand, but Blur has been big with the Strangling Prison. So watch that matchup between these two. Also, Dominant with the Avagamoto can connect flush.
Yeah, the idea here would to see Wiffles pop that ult by Luna and then hopefully get some tackles off that position and find a few picks. And there's the tackle immediately. The last thing goes out, but no. Brute turns it right around. Doom goes down. Blur takes out Impunity. Wow, Techie playing so patient and just incredibly well on their focus, finding value through all these ultimates and retaking the space, forcing Shroud X to turn the position around. But we do only have 1 minute on the clock. But once again, Techie finds two more, make that three. Tap on a rampage here. Blur and Tap together, back and forth, peanut butter and jelly, and there's only one left. Will they get this pick? Yes, they do. Point two to Techie XD, and they are looking like a whole new team after map one.
Yep, you called it. How Blur with those Strangling Prisons has been massive. Shrodex is the same thing that happened point one. Dongman came in late with an Ayabagamoto. Now, point one, he had an even bigger one, but just could not follow up on the damage. Right now, Techie XD fully in the edge. They do have 2 minutes, though, going in the third phase, so Shrodex did chew off at least some time in the bank. However, a lot of ultimates to go in this upcoming fight. Vision's going to have to be huge with the Final Judgment.
Yeah, I mean, ult advantage here for Techie. They have a ton to use. Nuck's going to hold on here, Vision as well, but that is about it as Dominant's only around 75. Likely we'll get it here at the end of this fight, but still, and here we go. The Hurricane's out early for Avery. This is going to force out a lot of cooldowns, trying to match it here by Vision with the Final Judgment, but so difficult to land those shots. As I say that, Avery goes down. Nice pick here for Vision, trying to keep the pressure forward, moving together as a unit. Good focus there by the Vanguards to keep Vision up and did not get KO'd as they do push through that Hurricane, finding two and sweeping them back to the spawn door. Ayabagamoto now going to be ready, but once again, Techie XD like absolutely ready here with 3 ultimates, or Dongmin is going to be the only one with all. Doom will have it 2 in this next fight.
Techie. This is their fight to win. Shredx finally able to get some value out of the ultimate vision with some excellent tracking, able to take down that storm. Freeze comes through to slow Dongmin down. We'll see how it pans out. Shredx desperately need to win this fight, though, with that Eye of Agamotto.
Tap popping final judgment, turning to help the back line, pressing forward. We do have
yeah, telat banget.
Not sure of the value just yet. Dongmin going to take out Tap. That's good for the side of Shroud X. We're holding on well here. Here comes Eye of Agamotto onto the back line. Did they count it out? Yes, they take out Ad early. Really well played there. So a lot of the time you just want to count to 12 while Luna's using that ultimate. Try to find people as they're stacked, unsuspecting of that strange ult. Here comes the portal off to potentially shut them down. And they're just going to rush.
Ultinya telat banget, Woofles.
Does Dongmin hold anyone in there? We'll find out shortly, but that is why Strange is so good on this map. A ton of those 2-lane openings at the spawn door, and I believe he did find one locked in there. And now they're just going to try to sweep and send people back to that spawn. Well done by Shroud X.
Yeah, the tough part is it was both
nice
Brute and Blur. So both Vanguard players from Techie XD resulting in no space been able to get controlled by Techie. So like you mentioned, Shib, placing those portals was perfect. Shroud X, they had enough time in the bank to hold. They need to sell 3rd phase. It's hard to fully cap out this map, but regardless, Shroud X looked really good towards the very end. And you know, overall, the positioning, the placements of Strategist ultimates as well are perfect. Like that one ult when it was one fight. Luna Snow ult was just a little bit too late from Woofles, and it resulted in them losing that fight. Right, it was a second too late to save Tap, and then after that, huge Eye of Agamotto, the huge shield placement as well from Dongmin. So he was just zoning out those heals, blocking off the healing coming through onto the Vanguards. Right now, Shroud X look very strong, and I think map 1 they look good, but this one, the teamwork is definitely showing off.
Yeah, and I think we're going to see what we were kind of theorizing here with the Protect the Punisher composition, where we are going to see the thing being played to get that damage reduction to Vision, to allow Vision to do his thing when he's in that final judgment. One thing for the audience, you'll see a lot of the strategists go characters or heroes that can go up to the high side, because there's actually a little peak there, a window on the height, to try to get an understanding of who you are going against, as teams are typically holding very tight here on this first point of defense. So what they'll do is they'll find a character that can get up on the height, they'll peek out, they'll comment, and they'll go back and switch towards their initial selection of heroes. So here we go for the first fight, as we do see kind of a unique comp here for Shroud X. There's that switch to have invis, and they are going to be off the thing, so they're not going to do that damage reduction composition.
Not doing indeed. Techie still walking towards this storm composition. They do like running it, and you know, a lot of teams I think agree, but now look at this, flanks coming through from both Doomed and Impugned. They're going to set up a dive. Rotations need to come through from Techie XD, but it looks like they're caught out a little bit on the backside.
We're going to start off here. Doomed, a ton of pressure. Fidel going to find Woofles. Invis has so much pressure and damage with her kit. So here we go. Doomed can actually build charge off those group walls. A little known fact about, well, maybe not little known, but a fact about Wolverine does allow his claws to get juiced up there and not be afraid to keep the pressure. But wow, Shroud X just walked right through it like it was nothing. Techie XD got to get their footing here, because you can't have this sweep happen right back to you. You got to know what you did on point 1 and 2. It was looking really clean, but the momentum has definitely shifted here as Shroud X is just applying a ton of pressure.
Well, this is the value of these dive compositions. Unfortunately for Techie, they didn't recognize they were being choked out on the flanks and unfortunately got caught out. But now in this upcoming fight, they have Strategist ultimates. They can maybe do something with this Cloak and Dagger, Eternal Bond alongside Final Judgment from Tap. Maybe Avery pops even his Storm ultimate early.
Yeah, we are going to see a strong defense here. Just going to hold it tight so they can ensure at least 3 fights. You want to make sure you can get as many fights guaranteed as possible on these points. Out goes the invisible boundary to counter, and the final judgment to try to counter that right back as it forces the entire team out of it. Vision going to keep the pressure and the space, but it did cost them some ultimates there. Techie XD going to be up 1 in this next fight, make that 2, as Brute will be ready with the Meteor M as well. So this could go back on the side of Techie in the next fight, but they have been doing a great job in these neutrals when they don't have ult, still finding value and making it happen. Tap on the height here. We do see Eternal Bond out as well, trying to get some damage out on the front line. Not dropping crystals, keeping the team healthy. Strange just trying to get to the sky to avoid it, but no. Down goes Dongmin as Tap gets one hit early. Chases Nuck. Nuck goes down. Great positioning there by Tap to find that off angle and tries to find a third, but nothing yet. As I do think we might see a turret placement here just to try to get that all back quickly, as he's at 11%.
This is the value of angles, right? You know, unintentional or unintentional. Avery just went past, forcing out the final judgment. Everybody else was engaged. He took an angle on the backside. And with that, just made sure Stridex was uncomfortable. Didn't know who to look at. Stridex, the one thing right now I think they need to work on is decision-making. Who to go on first. You know, maybe setting up or pushing off those flank angles and stuff. But right now, against the Strangling Prison, they just brought it into their face.
Meteor M goes up, Strangling Prison as well. Great block there by Dong.
Oh, mereka masih pakai
before anything major happened.
masih
Here, who are they going to be looking at together? It's got to be together, but no. A ton of... okay, Doom still finds Avery there, so it is going to be more valuable, but a ton of ultimate being used there. Not a ton of value, so that could be a huge trade.
Masih pakai Groot, padahal ada tuh kan, padahal ada si siapa? Logan Wolverine.
To take out Doom, and here we go as Vision's going to try to apply even more pressure here. They're using everything they've got. Techie down everything now. Great shots by Vision, too. They're all hiding in that corner. Vision going to try to get a third. Out goes the smoke. And gets walled off. He might be in danger. Great play there. And return by Barut and Blur. Blur at like 1 HP. Dongmin trying to collapse on the rest, and that could be point 2. It is. Wow, I did not expect Shroud X to play that so perfectly, being down ultimates in that initial fight, especially using everything into that Luna Snow ultimate, which seemed to cancel like 3 ultimates.
Yeah, you would have thought Techie would have won that fight, but now with 4 minutes left and the seeding, you know, maybe if they lose this, right, and then they're going to be the last seed in their group. Shroud X, though, trying to make sure they close it out here and now. Do have that Captain American ultimate. They're going to have Avery right now, who's committing a very early ultimate against no strategists on the other side.
Yeah, it's going to force out any cooldown they may have. Out goes the Cap, and we do know that Cap's ult does, that Freedom Jumps is essentially another strategist ult. You're just going to run through your team, keep your team healthy, does negate that Hurricane there. Great positioning here. Enough to keep the team healthy. Great play. And here comes the Eye of Agamotto by Dongmin. It finds a bunch. Make that 3-4. Dongmin with an insane Eye of Agamotto for the W. Beautiful play here by Shroud X, who takes
langsung ke backline.
And down goes Techie.
Langsung ke backline ultinya Alpha Agamotto.
In their games leading up to this one, but Shroud X still a signed roster who is very formidable, so they push themselves forward into the next round, going against whoever loses in that upper bracket matchup. And Shroud X looked pretty good doing it, right, Shib? I think that they had a lot of very good team play. We'll have to obviously ask a lot of questions about how they're maybe feeling going into this, because right now they look a lot better than they have in tournaments past.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very curious about the Cap discussion. I can't wait to talk about that a little bit. It seemed like they gathered their composure and then went in heavy, and every time they went in, they were sweeping teams. Techie goes down very quickly. It wasn't much of a stagger fest. It was more of an immediate burst there. Great Eye of Agamotto to finish up the round there. Beautiful play, man. Just a very clean sweep there by Shroud X.
Yeah, very clean. They're going to be going against the
Padahal Techie startnya bagus ya, cuman mereka kayak
we'll see that match later on,
tim.
but taking a look at the highlights, I mean, it was a lot of it was on domination, right? We talked about how Doctor Strange wasn't picked on domination, or at least wasn't protected on domination. We have stats, from our lovely producer Michael. He behind the scenes pointed out how Doctor Strange as well not picked up or not protected on Convoy either. So the very first time this character is prioritized in such a fashion wasn't reacted necessarily too very well by the other side of Techie XD. And I don't know, Shib, what do you think about that? I know we discussed how strong Doctor Strange is compared to a lot of tanks before we even started the series. We definitely, I think you made some great points about the hero going into this one, right?
Yeah, so one of the things that we're seeing now with Strange, first off, beautiful play there. You got to have so much focus going into that fate of both worlds and finding a way to get a pick through it. Your team has to be so focused on somebody. But Strange now getting a little more value in the fact that a lot of these tanks that have immunity to the eye with the shield, something like Magneto, obviously Emma being banned out, now that they are not always being played, there's no longer double shield comps. You're getting a ton more value with those Eye of Agamottos, and with that recent change to the damage range on E, when you get a big eye like that, it gets so much value, so much damage out, so your team can help sweep up the rest. And that was just right here, beautiful, bang, down go, 3, 4. It's just so well played by Dongmin, and just absolutely clutched up to take that thing home.
Yeah, Dongman definitely showing why he's one of the best vanguards in the game, and overall, Shrodex looked pretty damn good. So, getting rid of Techie XD, I think a lot of people probably expected. I thought Techie XD might have put up a better fight, but you know, it's tough. It's very hard, I think, for a team such as Techie XD to be able to compete against the signed roster such as Shrodex. So the fact we talked about it before, the fact they're even here is impressive. The fact that they're even going to be in our playoffs, so they're really secured into the playoffs, even though the seeding isn't necessarily in their favor. They're going to be going up against the group of death, I believe, on the other side. So that's going to be hard. Whoever the one seed of that roster, I believe that's going to be, what was that? Going to be 100 Thieves or Envy that they would potentially play against if 100 Thieves or Envy were to get into that grand finals and win. So, I mean, going to be super exciting to see when the playoffs roll around, but we still have to finish up these seeding matches, Shib, and Shrodex. So they're going to go against Envy or Sentinels. We'll obviously have to pick their brain, but, I mean, they look pretty good, at least on these Punisher compositions, right?
Yeah, I think we saw a different side of Shroud X today. A lot of these last few games, they're pushing to OT and then clutching up in the moment. But in this game, in both sides, they seem dominant, obviously, besides that first map there on Dom. But outside of that, it was just very clean sweeps with time on the clock. And we're speaking about time on the clock and big plays. Dongman, we're going to welcome Dongman in for this interview. So well played with some insane ultimates. How are you doing today, my man?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, man. I gotta say, one thing I'm curious about, man, you had some insane ultimates, and my theory is that, you know, Strange is kind of coming back into the fold in the meta here. Do you have any discussion as to why Strange is coming back? Is it that recent change to his E?
I mean, he does have no fall off, and Groot did get a little nerfed, but we just play around Strange and Mag like really well, so
garis mata gue salvok garis matanya bagus banget. Bentuk matanya cakep.
Look clean.
Si Dongman.
You know, I think for you guys, Dongman, I know that your team specifically, I know it has been sort of you know, been through it all, right? Now coming into this tournament, I think that you've seen,
bentuk
you know,
matanya tuh kayak
I mean, how do you guys feel now in this
kayak anime, karakter anime cowok, tau gak sih, yang agak meliuk gitu atas.
Things still over the place. We're pretty confident now about playing this meta. We were, I mean, as you know, we weren't looking too good like before, like during the Shao Gauntlet, like we lost our own tourney, I guess. But we started picking up more heroes, and we've been playing this meta pretty well this past few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you definitely playing it well. I mean, one of the things I noticed yesterday against Nightmare, that final map, you guys had like 5 minutes on the clock, and it was just so difficult to push through that point too. You guys seemed like a more confident team today, where these fights weren't always pushing to OT. You had plenty of time on the clock, and you kind of just walked through it. Is that coming from a place of experience and confidence, or what do you think changed there to allow you guys to be so aggressive?
I mean, we just started talking about it in our VODs a lot more to how to better help our team to win these fights more smoothly, but we did. It was looking a little rough. The last 4 minutes of that Clintar game, we did lose like almost 4 unlosable fights. Yeah, so the nerves were racking up on us, but we locked in for the last second. Gave everyone a show. So I know that's what everyone wants. So.
Yeah, I could have ran through my window, man. I'm so hyped up.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there was definitely a lot of attempts of clutching, I suppose, on Clintar. You guys looked very strong, I think, today, and you know, maybe because I know a lot of people are interested in terms of your Doctor Strange gameplay, and also in terms of how you play as a sort of not off tank necessarily, or like second Vanguard. What do you do when you're running, you know, your teammates are running that Captain America Psylocke dive and stuff? What's your sort of take on how you play like a Doctor Strange or even like a Magneto and stuff, or a Groot, when your team is very fast paced besides you?
Well, I literally only just anchor. I take it to the face. You know what I mean? Like I take all the damage. Yeah, there's nothing for me to really do. I just sit there, relax, let my team do all the work, and then maybe I'll do like some play with my ult or something. But I'm basically the anchor.
I like that. That's a pretty realistic approach. I like that. Honest answer from Don.
As Strange does. I mean, honestly, it looked super clean. You mentioned that Cap takedown and how aggressive you guys were with Cap. I haven't seen you guys running. I mean, you've been running more unique comps. We did see you on Penny and Clintar, and I thought that was awesome. I know the Penny names would be remiss, and for me to not ask, is Penny for you obviously very situational, map specific, or just point specific? If you don't mind diving into a little bit of details on when you want to pull out Penny.
It is map and point specific. I have been picking it up a lot more recently in ranked. If a lot of people know, they might think I'm like throwing their games just by picking Penny, but I'm practicing the character. Ever since that Rocket team up came out, I just thought like I'm very certain like choke points. This character is gonna be really annoying to play versus. So we've been trying to try her out more. But there are too many counters to the character that makes it very hard for her to play.
Yeah, that spawner positioning was gross. It was so good in that corner, they couldn't see it.
One last question, Donovan, before we let you go. You know, obviously, I imagine you might have some words for your boss who's out there in the spice grind, watching you guys on the side. You know, I mean, anything you want to say for your fans or maybe your boss in Shroud last minute?
We won't disappoint Shroud. We won't disappoint you. And if anyone likes any of my gameplay that I do, like any Penny Parker gameplay, like I stream on Twitch, so you guys can stop by there.
I love it. Thanks, Donovan. Yeah, check out Donovan on Twitch. Check him out on all social medias, on X and all that sort of stuff. You know, all their players are phenomenal. So thank you for coming in on this interview, Donovan. You were awesome last time we had you, and you played well. So good luck in your next match, man.
Thank you.
Really well done, buddy. Thanks for dropping by.
Donovan from Shroud X. I mean, Shib, what a match game number 1 has been. It's good to talk to Donovan again. What a chill guy. And, you know, we have 3 more today, but Shroud X looked pretty formidable moving forward.
Yeah, they look confident. Like I said, they've been known to be that OT clutch squad, and I like seeing them play more aggressive, big plays, man. Sweeping teams. It wasn't a stagger fest. It was just run in, sweep, get the point, on to the next. And they just really showcased how strong they can be as a squad. I like to hear him say, looking more into those VODs. So, you know, that's where all this stuff really comes into play. Having a coach or just really working together as a team to try to improve on your mistakes from previous days.
Oh, ini akunnya si Dongmin.
We can talk a little bit more about what we're going to see from these 2 new teams coming up in the next match right after this short break.
Gue nungguin Sentinels sama Nemesis tuh match yang ketiga. Dirty juga. AFK dulu ya guys.
좀 더 기다려 I'll be there 쓰러지지 말 끝까지 일어나야 해 어딜 가든지 극복해 힘은 너에게 있는 걸 소리 높여 노래를 불러 Take a look on the window
Welcome back, everyone, as we just witnessed ShroudX take out Techie in a rematch that went back towards ShroudX, who already won the first. But will there be there is another rematch, excuse me. Will it be the same outcome as we get into our second match here? Ego Death versus FlyQuest. Round one went to Ego. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, this is the exciting part of having a double elimination group stages. We get to see teams, you know, really test themselves, right, in the lower brackets. Both Ego and FlyQuest meeting up again. We saw Ego Death with that upset, like you mentioned, Shib, and I know you want to talk about it a little bit, right, with Ego Death and FlyQuest.
Yeah, Ego is such a fun team to watch, right? Both teams are not afraid to run more unique compositions. There's been some changes. We've seen some Panther on the side of Ego, who is very much a dive-focused team. Some fun facts, we actually got to speak with them a bit, is that they run ready comms. So the conversation, instead of being just open about who they're diving, it's more so ready, go. And the comms are silent and the focus begins. So Ego, very much a dive-focused team. And FlyQuest, like we mentioned, not afraid to run some unique stuff. So are they going to be able to find a way to counteract that and bring this back to take back a 1-1 and progress further in this tournament?
You know, I would go as far to say yes. As much as I love Ego Death, I think FlyQuest, you know, we've seen them in the past. This is a team that is very good, right? Throughout the history of this game, was seen as the best team, at least for like a week or two. You know, it's constantly changing North America compared to EMEA when they had VP dominate all of those months. But, you know, for Team FlyQuest, this is a team that can be at the top. They know they can be at the top. It's just a matter of, you know, like having a good draft, figuring out their identity, and it's maybe getting more down to, you know, the specifics about what compositions they want to play. Like we saw them play Iron Fist. We haven't seen Iron Fist outside of that, right? That's been the only time we've seen, except for some stall. For the opposite side, it's funny, Ego Death played the Iron Fist as well. So yeah, it's interesting that I think only these two teams have played some Iron Fist, and today it's not like we're going to see any of it really, except for stall maybe, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that Ego has been struggling with is domination off the rip, because it is more difficult to find a lot of value with dive in domination when the team is very much grouped together. As we see the layout here, we obviously had a conversation here with their team, and they told us that they are feeling confident and they are not afraid to run more obscure picks. They have some very strong duelists with Self and Zatex, who, you know, is one of the few heroes or people in this tournament that have had their heroes heavily targeted in the ban phase, definitely putting them in a position to be considered some of the top DPS or duelists in this tournament. So absolutely looking really good here as we have a glance here on Ego Death running through and taking out Shikigami. Really well played by Ego.
Yeah, really well played, I think, in their matchup versus Shiki, like you mentioned. And you're right, how you call out. Well, first of all, Zatek had a phenomenal game versus Shikigami. I mean, this guy, you know, sort of an underrated, unsung hero of this team on Ego Death, playing pretty much every duelist outside of what Self plays, right? And the filling the capability to flex as a strong suit of a lot of players, right? We've seen teams lose because they were unflexible, right? Because they have somebody who can only play Spider-Man, because you have somebody that can only play Star-Lord, right? These sort of things result in tournament losses, unfortunately, especially in a meta that is like this current one, right? Punisher heavy, we have Storm heavy, we have a lot of heroes that need to be played, and you have to flex towards them, like the Psylocke. So Zatek has been an unsung hero, but like you mentioned with Self, I think he is a top tier player. Their backline is one. Ego Death and Far Momentum have been great, but I think huge shout out to Self, obviously. I think he's seen as one of the top duelists in the game, specifically at Black Panther, and has made his name at that hero, similar to how Damon has done a similar thing across the pond on Wolverine.
Yeah, and now we're going to move over to FlyQuest. FlyQuest also an incredibly strong team. Vess, and yesterday, I believe, played the Magneto and had 17 final hits. One of the most disgusting final hit quantities there for Magneto, with some mean Meteor M's. Another team not afraid to run some more obscure comps. We saw some successful Jeff Natos on the side of Fly, who now have Adios in their lineup at this point, who are looking more consistent. Obviously, the first game they had together. It was a little bit more of a struggle, but they did still push through and get to this stage of the tournament. But now it is going to be the rematch of Doom, where they need to showcase that they can win against Ego, who potentially may have just surprised them. We've heard some conversation that Fly is now learning how to counteract this dive a little more and was more taken aback by the sheer, wow, look at that ult right there by Vest. Speaking of his final hits, gorgeous on a 5-piece right there. But yeah, it's more, it took him by surprise. So will they be able to shift? Will they be able to look back on the VOD? Will they be able to understand their mistakes and bounce back from it and take home this dub? We will find out very shortly. And like I said, the favor is on the side of Fly for domination, because Ego's just been struggling in Dom.
Yeah, and I want to see what they play, right? We've seen a lot of Hulk out of them. We've seen it, in other regions as well. It's been sort of a hero that's sort of, on the outside looking in of the meta, but is always a pick that can be played. And, FlyQuest, like you mentioned, is a great team, and Vest, like you said, he's a really good bagging player. Can play other heroes as well to a pretty high level. And also, I mean, in his interview, he had like freaking the craziest looking hair I've ever seen. I mean, it was just all over the place, looking like an anime character. So, I mean, shout out to FlyQuest. We'll see how they do today. But Ego Death trying to keep up their momentum. We haven't seen we saw their other unsigned team, Techie XT, falter. We'll see if they can maybe reclaim the victory over FlyQuest again. And this time, maybe not an upset, but sort of a staple match.
I love how Fly is showing everyone on Panther here, just to kind of call it out there. Love to see it. Self, in the last matchup, actually had Panther and Torch banned out heavy target, but then pulled out for one of the first times we've seen in this entire tournament, the Hawkeye, and played really well with the Luna team up, finding a ton of value with that stun into headshots. So not afraid to have a deep hero pool, which I think we need to see more of as we progress through Ignite, where people getting more unique with this banning process, finding ways to, target somebody or at least shut down specific compositions that forces you to pull maybe some more unique heroes out of the bag, as we see Emma and Mag back and forth banned out for either side. Emma going to be locked for the side of FlyQuest, and we are going to see the lock-in for Magneto on the side of Ego Death.
Yeah, this might be, like you mentioned, the target of Self. I mean, Black Panther ban, we see the Torch ban. Self plays these two heroes to such a high level. Also, he plays that Wolverine, but I think it's way easier for him to maybe carry on the Black Panther and the Human Torch. And the game plan hasn't changed to that sort of style where they play the the Thing or Hulk and just toss in that Wolverine. So right now for FlyQuest, like you mentioned, Shiv, targeting specifically Self, and on the opposite side, Ego Death, getting rid of the Human Torch because of how strong the hero can be, and the Ultron. They're going to double down potentially on that Adam Warlock as well. Not any focus towards Loki, interestingly enough.
See if they're going to lock in Luna here and maybe run that Hawkeye again. There is a chance that, we do see the lock in the Luna there. And I do believe we might see the Hawkeye back on the field here for Self, but we're going to see the next ban. Obviously, two of Self's heroes banned off the rip. We do see, we've had the conversation around Human Torch being an incredibly strong hero. Obviously,
najis banget.
Very difficult movement text. That
Black Panther semua.
It's just really hard to get him out of the sky.
Amit.
That escape with the dash down.
Benci banget sama Black Panther.
Yeah, goodbye to Human Torch, who has been a menace in this tournament, and we will see some unique picks here on either side.
Ya. Johnny di ban semua. Padahal aku pengen ngeliat gameplay Johnny.
I think that would definitely help out his hero pool slightly. I mean, Wolverine is a great hero, but it's hard to dive with the Captain America, specifically on Wolverine. He's sort of on his own little island on the opposite side. We do have that cap as well, and very targeted bans, like you said. You may be looking at that and like, okay, why is Black Panther, Torch, and Venom banned? I didn't see any of these bans before. It's because, like you said, Shiv, targeting specifically him. We'll see how that pans out in terms of the ban phase. Maybe that is worthwhile doing this, especially against a team such as Ego Death. Focusing maybe more on their bans is something that's going to help out the side of FlyQuest, because they didn't do that last time. I think they showed a little bit of ego on their side, not banning out specific heroes for the side of Ego Death. And right now today, we'll see if Ego Death can adapt.
Yeah, the Venom going to be taken out there for Sambo. Sambo, a really strong Venom. We saw a lot of value with the combination damage boost ultimates with Venom's Feast of the Abyss, which was actually getting, 2 and even 3 pieces on the KO feed during some of these fights. So goodbye Venom, goodbye Panther, and now Ego Death gonna have to shift their composition. Zaytek's going to be on the Punisher itself, on the Wolverine. Soko on the Mag. We do have that Luna. They have a very strong backline composition for both sides. As Cooper going to be on that Loki. This is going to be a crazy matchup as we have Hulk out here for Spark Chief, which hasn't been seen too much in this tournament.
No, they like to play it. FlyQuest does, and they also give the Snowflake to that Hulk to make sure he's enabled a lot more of that Wolverine pressured out. It's interesting that Ego's also not running the Loki, so FlyQuest playing maybe the arguably stronger backline right now, except Cloak and Dagger is good as well. However, momentum's already gone.
Yeah, well done, Sparky. Finding that early pick there. Vess onto Soko too, and already the team of Ego Death is going to be shoved back towards their spawn door. Sparky for the chase. Nice exile right there, trying to find the pick again, or at least pop the pass of a Wolverine, but no, not able to do so. Team's going to reset as you should. If you lose value, if you lose heroes early on as a team, do not try to fight that 4v5. Odds are not going to be in your favor, or that 5v6. Reset, try again, so they do not get that all charge for nothing as we press in for fight 2, 25% in favor of FlyQuest.
Yeah, no ultimates built on either side just yet. Here on the high ground, Self trying to set it up, but it's scouted out yet again, so he has to take a different angle. Ego Death, they're trying to hard play around that thing, but as we've talked about before, Chip, it's been hard for the thing players so far in the tournament.
Yeah, and here we go. Energy on a nice off angle here. Energy, a very strong side lock, finding momentum and taking out momentum, if you will. Holding on to this dance of the butterfly. Just going to wait a little bit here and then try to find some picks. It's going to be matched on both sides. We do see the fate of both worlds out. Damage boost, trying to make sure the team getting... Oh, nice drop there. Adios is going to be on the Namor, taking out Sabo. Cooper onto Soko. Well done again by FlyQuest, who is now up and in ultimates and up in percentage, roughly 70%. Wow, FlyQuest looking really good.
Yeah, looking good. The switch momentum over to Loki definitely helps, but it's tough when momentum just goes down early to Energy, who was sitting on that off angle. Nobody's clearing out these flanks right now. FlyQuest just controlling them so well. Here comes Self to finally clear out that Psylocke, but he needs to match out the whole time, otherwise Energy's going to do what he did earlier.
Passive still about a minute out there for Wolf. Puts him in a dangerous position. Zaytek's going to come in here early with the final judgment. There goes Crystals, and the pop immediately with the dance floor team is looking healthy. Emma, very difficult to take out when goes in diamond form. Tries to throw the whale, calling out the fish call. Not able to make anything happen there. Going to drop some of those Octopus on the high side, and that is going to be a dance of the butterfly. So many Qs being popped. Not a ton of value on either side as we find our first pick. Audio is going to take out Zaytek's there. And now, Energy on the south, Vest onto momentum. Audios on the Sabo, Energy on the far, and that could be it for the first point here. FlyQuest just dominating this domination.
Yep, statement match from them. I mean, FlyQuest played it so well. Ego Death almost, I think they played it pretty good going into that fight, right? You saw that whale, like you mentioned, they had the Emma Frost shield to block on the other side, right, to zone out that whale. But right now, for Ego Death, or rather, they didn't have the Emma Frost, that was the opposite side. But for Ego Death, they've been able to kind of just create themselves space towards that point, but not able to finally secure any eliminations with that Wolverine, right? Not able to get that last stand off. It was difficult for Self to really set up, and right now, for Ego Death, they need to change some things. They're going maybe for that Hella swap, that's potentially an answer instead of the Punisher, but right now, I mean, FlyQuest looks pretty formidable, and it's going to be very difficult for the opposite side to kind of deal with this whole composition, because Hulk is so good at just securing
memakai Hela padahal ada Emma.
Being a nuisance, stunning you up, right, immobilizing you with your E, and then also just kind of jumping around, having a ton of HP, having the shields to sort of stay alive. This Hulk Fire and Spark Chief really has created so much space for the side of FlyQuest to take advantage of. And right now, it's the best I think Hulk's looked in the tournament, even in EMEA and across regions.
Yeah, if you know a team is going to be run and dive, why not pull out the Namor Hulk combination and just shut that down? It does force them to play a little more poke. And they are, just changing their mental takes on everything here. It looks like FlyQuest is just kind of owning every single fight on spacing. Spark Chief going to take the height. Notice how Spark is burning the clones. You need to do that in the ladder. Couldn't call that out enough. It does heavily reduce the healing and damage output of Loki. Out go Crystals early. There goes the Exile. Does find a little bit of value. Forces out the dance floor. It is damage boosted. The Thing going to find some value. I'm not sure who is quite stunned yet. Energy on the off angle, and the point is now taken by Ego early on, 7%. We are seeing Qs popped everywhere. We have the last stand of the back line. Self takes out Cooper. Adios onto Zaytech. Self again onto Zello. Sparky trades it right back out of momentum. It is so back and forth, just going crazy on Hulk here, and that's 3. Sparky looking incredible, but they do not have the point. All of this is for naught if Ego can hold on.
No, I mean, Spark Chief just carried that. Now the bullet comes back through from Zaytech. They still have the objective, but unfortunate for Momentum. Had his ultimate canceled. Dial FlyQuest fully in advantage. Obviously, they don't have the objective, so as long as Ego just kind of runs in, they can stall the point. But with this Sonic Seduction, that should finally secure it for the side of FlyQuest. And right now, it's been very hard for Ego Death. I think that was a great engage, and luckily they're on domination, so 44% on the point was built after that first fight. And Self with a huge last stand, like you mentioned, but FlyQuest, right, surrounding the objective. You saw Spark Chief flank all the way over the top side. Energy that was there to collapse upon them. And right now, FlyQuest scouting, making sure they can stop Ego Death at this choke.
Yeah, FlyQuest with ult advantage in this fight. Soko holding on to that Meteor Ram. I do like the shift in composition here from Ego heavily. It does bode well for them to play pokey together, allow Wolverine to find some value on his own, just play his own game. Energy with great positioning here, does have that dance on the butterfly, gonna try to force out crystals. There they go. Now all is available, ready to take a ton of space with this Q and allow the team some, Adio's gonna find Self, and that's a great start. As we do see the dance now, aggressive, finds 2, Soko, momentum go down, will they be able to get 3 as Sparky playing hyper aggro and walking towards Far as Far falls as well. Energy, great positioning, great engagement timing, and that's what you want to see from players at this level. So well played, way to get those crystals out and way to follow up.
Yeah, this is why we see Dive taking over the meta right now. Any sort of dive, honestly. You play Hulk dive, you play Venom dive, you play some sort of Cap dive, and if you're new to the game, basically dive just means that you are the ones that are engaged upon. You can kind of walk up as a unit, take space together, but realistically, FlyQuest comp, they just want to dive on the squishies. They want to make sure those squishies are very uncomfortable, and they try to do it again, but right now, FlyQuest, they're actually getting the momentum shifted on them, and Ego Death have Zaytech going forward, just pumping out damage on health.
Yeah, like I said, I like the switch, but Energy is looking so clean out here, finding a ton of value on this side lock. Out goes the dance floor. We do see Hulk taking a ton of space, trying to lock someone down. The Exile goes out, still holding, and just going to press Q and just try to hold somebody in place for a moment. And it is completely switched. Again, and it's still being held by Ego, so the numbers are now shifting towards their favor,
Yeah, they flipped a point, but I mean, they're still losing people here regardless. That was a great flip of the objective. Ego just sort of hard rushed the point, but they need to find some eliminations here, Shiv. They need to do something, and right now, Energy is just kind of roaming free.
Ultinya kayak ulti Hela waste banget, harusnya majuan lagi.
Falter at one time, but Ego to flip the point again to FlyQuest.
Yeah, we saw Tap pop off a Psylocke here.
Biar gak mati doang.
Very much a backline focused map where you can make plays on off angles and never be seen again, especially when you're Psylocke. Adios with 2 there is a huge start to this final fight. As
multi apa dia?
Everything. Soko's got that Meteor Ram, but Zelos and Adios holding on to the well. And the dance.
Sumpah kasihan banget sih itu backline-nya Ego, gak ada yang jagain terus. Backline-nya ditinggal terus kayak gitu.
The team that beat them in the upper bracket to send them down below to go against Solaris and have a very, very tough series in the first round. So FlyQuest, kind of leveling up, getting better throughout the tournament. And really, it is a well-deserved MVP from Cooper and this backline in general. I think the Luna Snow placements of the Snowflakes was perfect, keeping their Hulk alive. I mean, we talk about a lot of good strategist players in the world. FlyQuest, their backline is definitely one of them. I know they're seen as sort of villains on social media. I mean, I'm not going to get into that, obviously, but, it's cool to see them kind of have such a formidable backline. I think they're so strong, and realistically, it's tough to eliminate Energy, to eliminate Spark Chief. I mean, Spark Chief had no casualties, so just really good job. I think that was a testament to his positioning, obviously, in the Vanguard positioning, but realistically, the strategist doing a good job keeping the front line alive at all times and rotating that Snowflake.
Gue nggak main predik dari tadi.
We talk about more obscure compositions, and we haven't seen much more.
Kayaknya kita judi kuda dulu.
So well done there by Adios, who didn't get KO'd a single time. 9 final hits, and Energy 13 final hits. And honestly, one of the stats you need to look at: 10k damage, 13 final hits. And you may be saying, as you're climbing ladder, that's not that much damage. Damage does not matter. It's all about taking out the backline and the enemy. Those final hits are all that matters, and I'm happier to see less damage with more final hits. It means you were very pointed with your attack. It was not just pumping into the tank and allowing your strategist lines to get those ults quickly. Instead, it was finding a ton of value and picking off everyone, as you see Energy here with this 3-piece.
Yeah, I mean, it was just so much, just absolutely choked out right now at the opposite side. In previous metas, Shib, it feels like we talked about Hulk being like that brawl character, not so much a dive hero. But in this game, I mean, dive is so interesting because it's so. We were talking to. Was it Hogs? I don't remember. I was talking to WAV maybe. One of the pro players was talking about how in this game in Marvel Rivals it's so easy to take these flank angles compared to other hero shooters. I think you have to fight for space. In this game, not really, right? We saw Energy free pretty much every time. Now you could say that's maybe the fundamentals of Ego Death not being there, right? Clearing out these angles, clearing out that Psylocke, making sure at least cooldowns are used. It's tough because, I mean, all these flank angles, all these positionings was just taken by FlyQuest, and there was really nothing they could do. Self-marked it like once, but we need to see that constantly. Like, if you're not constantly doing damage to the front line, that's fine. As long as you're, one-for-one trade, if you're on Wolverine, making sure their Psylocke is not getting in position. We saw Envy do that versus Ego Death whenever Self was on Black Panther. You just saw that Cal said he was on Self-duty, right? He was just making sure Self wasn't setting up. So, I mean, smart fundamentals, good fundamentals out of FlyQuest, and not so much so on an Ego Death side. We'll see if they can turn it around on the next map. We're going to go to a short break. We'll see you guys back here for map number 2.
Semalam tuh match di server Amer juga 2-0 semua. 4 match 2-0 semua. Bakal 2-0 semua juga nggak? Bentar guys.
Welcome back, everyone, as we just witnessed Ego get kind of destroyed by Fly, who had saw the future, saw what they were going to run, and shut that down quickly. And, you know, I kind of I had this conversation with you. I just wanted to see Ego have another successful dive round, but I don't know that we're going to see it as teams are now countering it and ensuring they take home the W.
Yeah, right now for Ego Death, their next evolution for this team is, you know, potentially we'll see how they do versus FlyQuest, right? Like we talking about Techie, it's cherry on top because they're already qualified for the playoffs. But for Ego Death, their next evolution is definitely increasing the hero pool a little bit, maybe marking the flanks a little bit better. There's a lot they could work on after this one. And this is when we talk about losses. You learn a lot more from losses than from wins a lot of the time, right? We talked about how, I think in interviews, you know, across the pond, when we see teams play against, you know, better teams and they just get dominated, you're like, okay, this is what we could do better, we can improve. And it's almost like if you're the winning team, there's not much to take away from there. So that's why you see a lot of the top teams, you know, blacklist the lower, not the lower tier teams, but the team trying to learn from them, right? Because it's tough, because if you practice against somebody, say a scrim block is 2 hours. If you're running what a scrim is, it's practice for these pro players. These pro teams are constantly playing against each other, usually 2 blocks a day. So you're playing 4 to 6 hours minimum, just in like official practice besides rank queue and stuff. So in those practices, you have to be, you know, figuring out what to play, and especially when ban systems are involved, like we are right now in this asymmetrical ban system. There's definitely an interesting discussion that becomes with, you know, do you want to blacklist rosters? And right now, if I was FlyQuest, I'd maybe be looking at Ego Death as Cooper-tastic, you know, versus Momentum. That matchup was a little one-sided.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about how well Cooper handled that Loki play, just only falling 3 times and having 14 KOs. You know, the healing was matched on both sides. It goes to show you how strong Momentum can be on Loki as well. We've had a conversation.
Kenapa ada perbandingan kayak gini jadi kayak menegaskan Loki di.
With this Hulk the Psylocke pressure was just a little too much. Forcing out those crystals early just makes Loki very vulnerable, as he doesn't have a ton of escape. The invisible can happen, but if you catch a stray shot there by Psylocke and you are immediately uninvisible, you're out in the open and you have nothing left. And we saw just a ton of KOs onto that backline.
Yeah, bear in mind, don't invest too much in the stats, because I think it doesn't tell the full story. It definitely tells the part that, like, Momentum was the hard target, right? It's a team effort to clear out these angles, and or even play the dive comp yourself, right? It's tough because I think how they played it is definitely not ideal, considering Momentum, like we saw with 8 casualties. It wasn't necessarily his fault entirely. Like, the team, I think, I'm not going to say let him down, but the whole team as a unit just had a tough time clearing out, like you mentioned, that Psylocke, and the energy just had his way with Ego Death. We'll see how they do it in the ban phase. Maybe a look at this Hulk, maybe something with FlyQuest specifically, but it's Emma Frost bans for both teams.
Yeah, I think one of the things we need to discuss is when you're a very focused dive composition team, you maybe struggle with peel, because honestly, peel isn't as common when you're going dive. You're fully committing. So now that they weren't running dive in that last match, you can see the backline just struggling to catch up with the Vanguards, and they were falling over quickly. So you need to make sure you have eyes on them, giving them some time and some space to be able to play the game. But no, FlyQuest took that away from them, as you saw the 9 KOs there, excuse me, 8 KOs there on Momentum. Like you said, a hard focus on the Momentum at far, with a total of 15 KOs against them.
Same bans for Ego Death. Not sure if I'm a crazy fan of that. I mean, I don't mind the Ultron ban, but what we saw on EMEA, it didn't seem like the Ultron's the focal point of that sort of system. Ego Death banning out Torch. Did they do the same thing last time? They're not changing anything, it looks like shit.
Yeah, the definition of insanity here, where you can't expect new results if you're going to run the same thing over and over again. I am with you. I think we need to see something different, but maybe they had a conversation about what they needed to change. Maybe we'll see something different here. Typically, we see Ego pop up more frequently on things like Convoy, and they do like these diving maps like Araco, obviously chosen by Ego. For those of you who don't know, the first map is a randomized domination. Second map is chosen by the losing team and side. So they elected to go down Araco, which we have seen them have a ton of success with over this tournament. But like we have been saying, dive is virtually off the table for them, which is definitely their strong suit.
I suppose the only variance for map 1 was the Emma getting banned. Was was it Fly? So FlyQuest now got that Emma banned. They cannot play that hero, and you know, the Magneto getting banned on the opposite side. So we'll see if that's enough. You know, maybe we see these sort of unsigned teams. I feel like do similar things, not like an entire variance of comp changes. You know, we saw Techie do a similar thing, only changed one thing, put in the Luna Snow this time, getting rid of the Emma for Ego Death. And since the ban phase was, I'm not going to say not exciting, but maybe, you know, the same thing as last time, Shib, what, since you're the lore guy, you know, what do we got here on this map on Araco? You know, is it similar to Krakoa?
Sure, yeah. So Krakoa and Araco are essentially sister islands. So torn apart, Araco is more of an aggressive, war-focused, or at least more of a battle-focused island. So Ultron has their eye on Araco. So you'll actually, one of the crazy things for those of you who don't know, you're actually walking Krakoa towards Araco. So a pretty cool little lore aspect of the map, as you see right there. Krakoa, great timing, and thank you, observers, as Krakoa is now going to start walking forward on the first point. Here we go.
And starting off, FlyQuest going to play triple Vanguard, triple strategist, right? We see this a lot of the time, just to hold objective, right? Just to make sure you're constantly getting fights. And this is a good map for it. I think it's super, you know, lengthy. It is a convoy map at the end of the day. So they put energy onto that Magneto, playing this triple Vanguard, triple strategist, making sure this cart is never taken for Ego Death as energy sets up angles. You saw this.
Magnetonya DPS.
Fundamentals. Sorry to hog the mic here, shit, but it's really clean.
Gue gak pernah ngeliat
Just on this flank angle on Magneto, just able to get so much damage on the offside, similar to a duelist would. And right now, I mean, that's pressuring Ego Death even in their own spawn. Sambo's going to go down early.
Yeah, that recent change giving him reduced cooldown on that right click, as we see a pick there onto Zaytex. Well done by energy. These early spawn door holds, buying them a ton of time, forcing out ultimates early, and allowing FlyQuest. Oh wow, another great pick there onto Self, as we will see the cooldown for the passive pop. And they are literally at the door here with this triple Vanguard comp. We're seeing a lot more of this now on defense on these maps. It's all about holding here for as long as possible, not expecting to keep them in the door, but instead to buy as much time so that you can get a tough and a more favored defensive position later on down the line. As we do see the pop here, final judgment onto the back.
He fell, dude. Oh no, I don't know if he meant to do that, Chim. He fell down the crack. And now he's stuck.
Happens twice there. Gonna have to smoke grenade back up to the top here. Again, gonna be shoving them back in, utilizing those ultimates, not finding a ton of value is going to be a major downside. Best gonna find Zaytex though. Again, well done by FlyQuest, getting these early picks energy out of Self once more, and they cannot get out of this zone. They are locked in and they are panicking. It's gotta be a full team reset, and we are gonna see a composition shift. We now have the Iron Man, who's gonna help clear out some of these group walls.
Yeah, this to me is experience right now for FlyQuest finally coming into fruition, right? They able to take those flank angles. Ego Death, you know, tunneled on that. We're trying to take it back as a full unit, and they got Grudelted. So right now, FlyQuest shoving Ego Death towards their own spawn. It's been tough for Ego Death to find.
Serem banget sih 3 Vanguard.
And they are starting to at least progress them point forward, but Vess again on the Zaytex. Another early find here, doing that almost every single fight. Everything being popped down. The team's gonna have to reset. It's just consistent at this point. Ego got to make sure they hold on and use ults together. Is this covering time not going to find much value either, as the team just was not prepared for it.
Energy took another angle on the right side, just boops away that Wolverine who's trying to get close to him. He's keeping him at an arm distance, you know, like an adult with a child. Now, as Zaytex finds Spark Chief earlier on, but Rez from the beacon is just bringing Spark Chief right back into it. So FlyQuest still trying to win. Cooper with the copy now comes in with the Fate of the Worlds.
Yeah, and we're just going to hold on to that Meteor M here for energy, potentially trying to shut down this Fate of both worlds. And we're just going to like to choose to hold on to that a little bit longer, use it as an escape method, as energy's just been sitting here on the point with no contest for a while. Up we go. Cooper going to be dropping Sambo there, and that's another find early on, as they are just sweeping through Ego with all these ultimates. FlyQuest is going to be roughly even. Maximum Pulse goes down, and eaten and turned around as Fire goes down. Energy, a demon here on this Magneto. Again, Spark Chief on the momentum, and oh my goodness, Vess
ke-control nya Iron Man.
And are you kidding me? There is 30 seconds on the clock at the spawn door.
I mean, easily the most dominant we've seen on Aranco, unless Ego Death just have the biggest last stand of all time. It's all on Self here.
Kenapa lebih milih Iron Man daripada Punisher?
On that character against Meteor M, all these Magneto players just hold their ultimate for you and then toss it right back into your back line. Right now, it's all on Self, and he's able to find Spark Chief yet again. And then Vess.
Yeah, the Rez is going to bring back Spark Chief early. Number still down to the side of Fly. Zaytek's taking out energy, and there we go. We're finding some value here again. Self making the rest of the team go down. That's 4. Make it 5. Self now showing up, but we are in OT, and things are getting serious. Alt advantage. Actually, neither team going to have much. We will see 2 for the side of Ego, who need to make some big plays here with the cap and the maximum pulse. Teleport goes out. It's going to wall off some LOS, and like we said, we like to see those teleports block off and be used as a wall. It's just there's no reason to not use them in that fashion, as it does allow your team to get some free space. Energy on the high side here. Now going to be making switch on to Psylocke, trying to find Zaytek's on height. Zaytek's going to be staying up there with Iron Man. Haven't hit a ton of Iron Man so far, but it is difficult to get ults off when you have the Magneto. Maximum pulse goes out. Not going to be matched, but instead not going to find value as the return to sender is not ready for the Meteor M.
I mean, energy is constantly on that Iron Man, even though he has the snowflake pressuring him out. Here comes a Meteor M on the backside. Does it connect from Soko? When it does, Trooper goes down. I mean, this could be a momentum shift for Ego Death.
Yeah, Ego Death is finding their footing, and that all does find some purchase on his Zaytek's, but we are going to have the fate of both worlds, keeping the team healthy and up. That rocket that does not last long. Goodbye immediately as it was out there. Tough to see the Cosmic Yarn go down like that. Zello's going to find Self. Best on the far. That should be it as Energy takes out 2. And they at least got it to this corner, which is very much a defensive position.
Huge win from FlyQuest, and right now this is looking how the first series should have gone, honestly, between FlyQuest and Ego Death. No offense to Ego Death, but this matchup between FlyQuest and Ego Death is looking like a tier above for FlyQuest. And you know, it's not any fault due to mechanics. It's just the team player right now from Ego Death maybe needs to relook at things, right? Because we saw first fight, they just got like pushed off. We saw angles being taken by Energy, and you know, on that note, you know, a lot of people in ranked will tell you, you know, if you're on a Hela or if you're on any hero, really, just to take flanks. You know, they don't really mean flank the whole map, go hide in the back line or whatever. They mean, you know, sort of take an off angle, you know, take a different approach to it, make sure they're pressured, force them to do something about you, use your cooldowns to get back, right? Anytime we saw Energy on the Magneto get pressured, he would always just push away with displacement onto Self, who was on the Wolverine or whoever it may be. He was constantly keeping them off of him and then falling back to his team. So that's really what you do, is that you take like a sort of soft off angle and then you fall back to your team like he did. So right now, FlyQuest kind of playing as a better team, and Ego Death, the real answer as well to what they did on attack is not to send everybody over there, because you tunnel vision on one person that's being annoying to your team, you're going to go down to the Strangling Prison like we saw out of Vest. He had 3 Strangling Prisons. One of them hit the cart, obviously, but you know, it's tough in this game because, you know, everything's projectile with your character being the focal point of the crosshair. But that's a discussion for another day. Regardless, FlyQuest taking advantage of Ego Death maybe being a not as not as prepared team, but regardless, Self is that dominant player. He could pop off on his defense.
Yeah, we love to see that from Self. Great lineup there. Going to find one early, and that is the power of the team up with Luna. Self going to be on that Hawkeye. We talked about having that in the bag, ready for play. Good tackle there. Talked about off angles. There's plenty of portals here that'll get you those off angles for free as Energy takes out Soko, and already looks FlyQuest taking a ton of space here. They're not able to door them. Oh my goodness! What a decision to not allow anyone out. That is a really smart portal idea, and you love to see that from Fly, who will not allow them to escape that corner, and they just kind of walk them in there as they push around the first corner with 3 minutes. Oh, and what a pick again. Great freeze there to help take out Zelos off the start of this next fight. These portals do find you those off angles. You talk about off angles, and this map does that in spades, because you can use these portals to find yourself behind, to the side, and just have eyes looking away from your front line.
And this is what we needed to see out of Ego. I mean, yeah, sure, they're only getting picked anytime he has the frozen arrow up, but regardless, you talked about this, Shib, how Ego Death plays that Hawkeye to a high level, right?
Yeah, I think Self is a really mean Hawkeye. You can see just on the stat line alone, starting off this round 8-3, obviously with the Wolf, but we've seen nothing but KOs here from Self since the start here. Great tackle by Energy, and that is massive as Energy finds Soko. Goes down from Adios. The composition here from FlyQuest looking very similar to last match, and they know that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We see more tackle here from Energy, just chasing as Spark Chief is going to reset on point, and they are very close here to taking home this W. They do.
Ladies and gentlemen, he found him. He got him. All the portals, Tom and Jerry-esque for sure. You know, play those music, play the the tune, but that was such a good series from FlyQuest. I mean, showing there is levels to this and that.
Capnya nge-distract banget anjir.
We'll see how EgoDeath does in the official playoffs themselves, but that is going to give them the lowest seed in their bracket. Regardless, to even make the playoffs as an unsigned
Cooper lagi
team
MVP.
is very impressive. And for EgoDeath, I mean, we'll have to see who they go against in the matchup, because they're going to go into the Sentinel or Nemesis, who
gameplay
look
Loki-nya.
pretty strong as well.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this stat line here, Energy, 8 final hits. There wasn't a ton of final hits on the board. Teams playing smart and at least resetting, but it was so dominant on the side of FlyQuest across the board without hold. And you see Cooper again taking home that MVP on the Loki, just a mean Loki player. And yeah, it just had Ego shifting their comps like crazy, trying to find a way through it.
Yeah, right now Ego definitely needs a little bit more time together, maybe some experience as well, as FlyQuest, looked like the better team. And by the way, yeah, no, Audios was not playing the Namor the whole time. He was on Rocket the first half. So if you're wondering why he has the lowest damage in the lobby, it's because he was playing, no damage Rocket almost, right? So right now FlyQuest looking like a pretty strong team, like you said, Shib, and I would be scared of them moving forward, because maybe Group A is still like that group of death that we were talking about. It's just been an absolute gauntlet for every team so far.
Yeah, and I can't wait to ask about just studying up here. It seems like they knew this was coming. They knew that Araco was going to be selected, and they seemed studied. They seemed practiced. They had this composition locked in. They had the switch ready. They just owned only 30 seconds on the clock left in the spawn door still. Just looked like a masterclass on defense. FlyQuest making the switch right after, too. It was just super well played, very much practiced, and that teleport idea is genius, and I will be taking that to ladder.
Now, yeah, exactly, and for sure. I mean, the
Gue gak terlalu lihat teleportnya gimana sih bentukannya.
From Aranco, maybe that's just for these maps. I know the devs love these sort of gimmicky maps, so I'm curious to see, what kind of comes up next. And for FlyQuest, Shib, I mean, tough question before we have our interview. I mean, are they still a threat? I mean, we talked about them being a real threat, a real team going into this tournament. Now, does this win over EgoDeath put them back in that conversation to win the whole thing? I mean, is this a real team, a real force to be reckoned with in FlyQuest?
Yeah, they play so well as a unit. We talk about teams having good talent, but maybe not necessarily playing well together. And I think FlyQuest is a great example of a team that plays very well together. They just seemed cohesive. Every single one of them was finding value. There was no clear leader on the stat board. It was always well distributed. I think FlyQuest is very much a team to be afraid of. I think they do have the ability to push through this tournament.
I would agree. I mean, we'll have to talk to FlyQuest and see what they have to say about it in a second, or at least one of the players from FlyQuest. And for FlyQuest, I would agree. They've looked really strong, and here we have the group player himself from the second map. We have Vess in the call for the conversation, and I'm curious to see if his hair looks the same as yesterday. Did you? Oh, it's looking a little bit more washed today, Vess. Not to say that yesterday wasn't, but I'm saying your hair looked crazy as hell, and now today it looks awesome. So good to see you, man. Good game. I mean, how do you feel after that series?
Oh, I mean, we feel great. We're very happy with how we played today.
Absolutely, and in Vess, you farmed, I think, 3 ultimates on that second map and stuff. Obviously you played that triple Vanguard composition. Is that something that you guys like to play a lot? I know that we've seen a lot of teams play that on Convoy and on Convergence, because obviously you get a lot of fights and stuff. Is that still something that you maybe run elsewhere? Maybe on Domination, is there really no opportunity just because the Domination is so fast? I mean, what's your take comparing triple Vanguard, triple strategist from Convoy and Convergence going over to maybe like a map such as Domination?
Yeah, so obviously playing it on Convoy is very good. You usually get 3 fights because of the strange TP and stuff. On Domination, it's not as good because you just play that comp to stall really. So if you can't capture the point really, then it's not great. I'm sure it could be played other places. We just personally haven't scrimmed it like that, so we just prefer it on Convoy.
Awesome. Well, I have to ask this because it looks so studied. Did you guys assume that was going to be the map selection? Because it looked beautiful, and I know they've done that in the past. So is that going back to the tapes and preparing for that map?
Well, we got to prepare every map against every team. So we have scrimmed that map a lot, especially since it just came out. We have less practice on it, so that gets played usually every scrim.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, it looked like it. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Invest, I think, for you as well. I mean, it was a phenomenal series from you, and you had a great series as well yesterday. And, you know, I know it means a lot coming back into today, but like you said, you have to prepare for every team. Is this sort of your take on this, on the new system, on the new ban system? I know that a lot of people are wondering what I'm sure your opinion is and on your take on this sort of asynchronous ban system that we have right now for the Ignite series.
Yeah. I think target banning teams is really strong with this new ban system. Like, you get 4 bans, your bans don't affect your team, so, you know, you get to like really choose what the other team has available to them, and like banning out individual players is pretty strong.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you looked really good on the group there. Obviously, energy taking over your Magneto. I believe you're in the conversation for one of the strongest Magnetos in this tournament. So I need to ask you the question, because I'm sure the audience is curious. How do you get as much value with Mag? Do you consider it more of a defensive ultimate? Or are you more focused on shutting down strategists or, you know, more impactful backline heroes?
I like to use Mag defensively. You know, when you load into a match, you look at the enemy comp and you just kind of see like what ultimates on their team you can eat with your mag grav. So like things like Hela or Iron Man. Sometimes you can eat like a Groot grav too. So you just kind of gotta like use it defensively. Look at what you can do with it into the comp they're playing.
Yeah, you were getting 3 and 4 pieces yesterday. It was looking clean, man. So really well done there.
Thank you.
Invest, I think for you guys in FlyQuest, I mean, that it's now that it's been sort of this lower bracket run, you know, I mean, obviously a lot of people think you guys are probably back up in the top side, and are you feeling a lot more comfortable, I think, in the meta? Are you guys feeling a lot more confident now, you know, to either go against 100 Thieves or Envy with this specific composition you're running, or the variants, I suppose, that you do it with in this ban in Protect phase?
Yeah, we definitely do have our confidence back, and we're playing really well. Like, even going into today, we knew that we were going to win.
Absolutely, and you know, moving forward, we'll see you guys against Envy or 100 Thieves. You secured yourselves into that top 3 seed, and you know, thanks for coming, Vest, man. Is there anything, by the way, that you want to say before we let you go? It's good to interview as well, so I'm sure, you know, we get some more interviews with you in the future. It's always awesome talking to you.
Thank you. Nope, nothing else I can really think of. I appreciate you guys having me.
Awesome. Been a pleasure talking to you, man. As always, well done, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. You too.
Humble and locked in, Vest, just a Vanguard monster, taking things out on Groot and Magneto. Definitely someone to look up to or to watch if you're trying to learn how to play the Vanguard role well. Once again, FlyQuest looked like a clean and improved team from these last few games.
Absolutely, they're looking way better, and Sentinels versus Nemesis will be that next matchup in the upper bracket. And by the way, if you have any, you know, glaring questions you have, make sure to maybe ask us in Twitch chat, ask us in any sort of social media chat room that we have available for you guys, because I'm sure, you know, all these pro players definitely want to let their opinions be known. You know, they want them to be seen by you guys. So any specific questions you have, make sure you ask them at the Twitch streams as well. There's a lot of these pros that do stream on social media, so make sure to check them out as well. But now, Shiv, like you mentioned, you know, we have that incredible matchup coming up now in the upper bracket side. These are going to be the top teams of the tournament so far. But we're going to do a short break before we come back for Sentinels versus Nemesis.
ini akhirnya Sentinels Nemesis. Jujur gua nggak tahu mau vote siapa. Gua nggak tahu mau judi ke siapa. Dua-duanya jago, salah. Dua-duanya jago lagi. Orang-orang pada milih Sentinel. Enak juga ternyata lagunya Jeff. Kalian harus lihat guys. Kita iklan ini dulu deh. Apa? Iklan dulu. Lagu ini pernah di cover sama Jeff. Mana ya? Yang orangnya ini nih. Ini nih ya. Coba ya mute dulu ini. Lucu banget, ini lucu banget. Gue gemes banget. Jeff kalau di game kayak setan tapi aslinya dia lucu banget. Ini dia keluar dari itu kolektor. Lucu banget. Jeff Entor. Ini dewa loh. Dia dewa loh, tapi dia belakangan setelah Jeff dulu. Jeff dulu sungkem Jeff. Sekali lagi. Gemes banget sih. Gemes banget, pengen gue jadiin sashimi. Lagi terakhir biar 3 pas. Halo. Gemes sekali iblis kecil ini. Dah gitu doang sih. balik.
I'd rather won or losing the first map to Shroud X, and that was, Shroud X at the very beginning of the tournament as well. So, it's cool to see Team Nemesis and how they play. Like
kita
that
belum
sort of
judi.
have the display,
Kita ikut ambil Sentinel saja.
Win rate, because that's sort of what's decided in terms of what maps are actually your best maps in practice.
Aramori main gak ya di Sentinel?
Like you said, but that random first map, I think that can dictate.
Jadi di Sentinels tuh ada satu player, nah ini nih Aramori.
for running that Guardians comp and being,
Dia
very
cewek,
threatening
guys.
on
Keren
the
banget.
Guardians comp. And nearly everyone on this team is in the conversation for the top.
Dia
of
biasanya
their
main
position.
mantis.
Everybody
Tapi
fighting
nggak tahu
MVPs
ntar
and
mana.
SVPs looking really clean.
Si
Sentinels
Aramori.
have not lost a single map in this tournament. But Nemesis has lost one to Shroud X like we saw in that previous layout. Both teams feeling confident going into this, and this is going to be a close one as we push for the first map. Techie here, you can see Techie just popping off a very strong Emma and frontline Vanguard in general.
Yeah, there's a reason why
lawan
Techie,
CTG semua.
has an entire team.
Gue belum nonton nih yang
right?
Sentinel
that's pretty
sama
funny that,
CTG
that's the case. But yeah, like you said, Nectar popping off. Unfortunately, he's doesn't get a lot of the limelight.
Lawan Citadel berarti lawan Valentina tuh. Ini Valentina yang ini nih. Dia juga cewek. Sama-sama strategis mereka berdua. Oh, tapi ini Aramori.
This team's looking pretty formidable, and it's a shame that we won't get to see Sentinels versus Tenki, I think, at all.
Citadel udah keeliminasi.
Tenki, went to the lower brackets and kind of had to come back, but because they're in the same group, we won't see them until maybe Tenki makes it to the finals. So right now, maybe a quick handshake across the board, and for Team Nemesis, this team is also one of the top teams, right, Chid?
Yeah, they're not afraid to run that Groot as well. That Groot has been kind of taking a little bit of a backseat like we discussed, but it can be threatening with that strangling prison. As we know, Crazemang is a
Ada yang rekam
and they do a great job comboing off there. And maybe
CTG
afraid to play things like Storm and Hela, or Phobia on the Wolves, Spider-Man. We've seen Spider-Man just a touch point, Bucky back in the day, but obviously Bucky has been, also taking a seat back in the meta. But this entire team can play at a insanely high level, as we'll see some of their clips here, and they are definitely a contender for the top of this tournament.
Yeah, Team Nemesis has been constantly, doing the right things. I think that they've been, slowly improving as a roster, as well as getting used to the new patch, right? That's the tough part. We've seen a lot of teams, at least in terms of, FlyQuest earlier, sort of have hiccups early on in the tournament. Team Nemesis really hasn't. I mean, the worst we've seen them is drop a map to a good team in Shroud X. So, we'll see how they do versus a team like Sentinels, who a lot of people favor to win the whole tournament. Both, I think Team Nemesis has had a pretty hard side on their side of the bracket. So Sentinels, I'm not going to say it's the easiest run up, but it's been sort of a smooth sailing for Sentinels. So we'll see what happens when they actually get challenged.
Yeah, I know they're strong and confident, and that's the key in these. When you have a lot of these matches under your belt in high, tense situations, going to the finals, we know Sentinels has won a few tournaments, not just one. They know what it's like to be under the brightest lights, and I think that is a massive advantage as you go into the game this deep into the tournament. So Sentinels has a ton of talent, right? Super Gomez is even on the bench right now.
Valentina tuh tadi yang di Citadel tuh, dia pernah rank 1 di ranked.
And kind of witness it, and don't be afraid to have him get pulled in if they ever need him. So a team with a ton of talent across the board, and I think that this is going to be a very intense one. And we might see a little more.
Bentar guys, mau ngambil alpukat, lapar.
Unique comps, and as I say that, of course, well, this might be unique for today. Double Emma off the rip.
Double Emma off the rip indeed is very unique, and well, I mean, earlier in the tournament we definitely saw a lot, but today for sure. But a little bit of side topic, a little bit of old lore for Sentinels. Apparently, Hogs told me. I mean, Super Gomez obviously on the bench today. Shout out Super Gomez, probably co-streaming the event. I think Hogs told me that Super Gomez, when they were playing for the first time, trying to make a team, they were like, "Hey." Super Gomez literally told Hogs, like, "Hey, I'm playing duelist in this game, by the way," and then they just made a team around it. So pretty funny how a former Vanguard player just decides, "Okay, I'm gonna play duelist in Marvel Rivals," and he was very strong for like the first year of this game, and is still pretty strong, like you said, on the bench for the team right now, instead of Nectar.
Yeah, and I mentioned, I touched on it. There's just so much
Sambil
talent.
makan ya.
And just the humbleness saying,
Kan alpukat
he
doang.
may play a better Wolverine than me. I'd rather kind of learn and practice and try to get some of these heroes that we may need added to our roster in case we need me to pull it out. As the bans are getting a little more, we're going to see Punisher taken off here. Punisher has been very frequently selected across the board, as that final Judgment ultimate with a pocket is devastating. And the Mantis is gone. Surprisingly, on the side, actually, Sentinel's going to ban that out for Nemesis. As we know, damage comps have been threatening. These damage boosts from Mantis, this cloak that has been locked in for the side of Nemesis, it makes things like Mellow over there on the Torch terrifying to go against.
Yeah, yep, the Torch band as well. I mean, this is what I was talking to you about this. I think the evolution of the
Set dong Torch. Aku main lihat gameplay Torch.
You get a flex, right?
Gue lagi belajar main Torch.
But now the Ultron's on the table alongside Human Torch. So we saw on EMEA how strong the dive with Mantis, with the Human Torch is in Rad Esports, because you damage boost up that Ultron, you damage boost up the Human Torch, and you can one shot. You can 165 body shots on Ultron. So there's a lot of value to be had in Mantis. I know that the character itself isn't necessarily a hard carry, but you could play it very well alongside this Human Torch, alongside an Ultron. We'll see if they do it. I mean, I haven't seen too many teams run that sort of Captain America dive composition outside of Europe, so we'll see if Sentinels wants to do it over here against Team Nemesis today on Hell's Heaven, which that's the map that they lost, right? That's the map that Nemesis lost, right, Shib?
I believe so. I believe so. I'd have to go back and check. But one of the things I thought,
kan tadi ada
interesting on the side of Sentinels was the discussion.
Ada replaynya kan yang dia lawan.
Who suggested that she wasn't as comfortable with giving comms out and like to play more of that Shrek.
Bukan yang tadi gameplay lawan. Shortage menang.
Rather than calling out for the team, but allowing the switch over here to allow Kurova to play those more technical.
Tapi gue juga benci sih map ini.
Forward and focuses on making the team play together with some strong comms, and that conversation about letting strats.
Kedua nyebelin setelah map Asgard capture.
Rather than individual talent, because they are all hard locked in to how these comms are given. And up here, Mellow on the Wolverine, looking for the tackle as Crimson going to be playing Captain America.
That's some very unique insight, Shib, as, hopefully we get more players to share such insight on the Cozy cast. Sentinels, a team that has a lot of things known about them. We'll see all these other rosters, what's to come, but Dinks already on Techie after that pull came in from Mellow, like you said, Shib. That angle from the Wolverine was beautiful.
Yeah, and the fight is going to be pretty much stalled at this point, heavily in the side of Nemesis with this pressure driving the team back as Sentinels regroups here. Nobody getting KO just yet. Craze, we talked about the throw here on Wolverine, the fastball special. This is a scary team up that maybe slept on a little bit, because giving Wolverine the chance to play boomerang, throw him past and allow him to tackle back is pretty much an ultimate for Wolverine, who plays so much off of that tackle. And here goes the throw directly on to the front line. Ricky goes down from Crimson, though, during that fight. Crimson going to find an offensive pick, and that is a huge pick just to turn the momentum around as Kurova takes out a Median after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to deal with, but they come back through. They do pop that Eternal Bond, but we'll see what Sentinels opt to do. Kurova, ultimate available, dives on in there, keeping Rymazing alive. Nemesis now at a disadvantage.
And we do see the Eternal Bond out for now. Rymazing holding that height. A very, very mean Human Torch, who already is holding on to that ultimate, can be ready as the team has the dance floors lit up. The tackle of the last stand, not able to get anyone fully through it, as Sentinels are still holding on to Rymazing and Crimson with the Q. It's going to be matched as Craze Main does pop poke. Scatter goes up in the sky. Will the dunk happen? Not able to find value with it. But Cray, nice freeze there from Aramori to hold and stall that as Techie finds one, Nectar finds two, and Sentinels are going to try to retake this point, but 72% on the side of Nemesis. Great first hold.
Yeah, good first hold indeed, and that's kind of what happens on Domination, right? The tickage kind of just goes up so fast compared to every other game mode. Domination, I would argue maybe we'll see what happens in terms of rule set. Maybe it needs to last a little bit longer, but regardless, Team Nemesis, 77% on the board. Like you said, all they need is that one fight and the deal with Doctor Strange portals coming back. They do have ultimates coming through. They do have Horn of Proteus ready to go. And on the opposite side, Sentinels does have Techie and the Meteor M. For Nemesis, we'll see how they set this up. They are against the dive composition, so maybe he'll use it to peel. And on the opposite side, Techie probably going to enable his divers, save people with that Meteor M against Team Nemesis on their engage.
Yeah, Median and Dinks both ready to press Q. Crimzo on and off angle. Nectar finds Ricky and Dinks down.
Udah pakai namor tapi tetap ditinggal.
They've got to try to make make up this difference. Nemesis just has to win one Q
Backline ya.
fight. Once they get these ults, they just have to take one down and force them into a teleport play situation. But great neutral, not burning a ton there for Sentinels, and Nectar finding a few picks while still holding on to that dance of the butterfly. Amazing on this height, ready to set up. It is threatening when you see this on the ground. The fire begins. Tick damage for days and getting that ultimate back relatively quickly. That supernova is not insanely threatening in and of itself, but it does buy a ton of space.
And they go aggressive with the dance of the butterflies. Oh no, Amadian goes down. It's traded at least by one. Korova will fall, but Mello going down as well with that last stand is awful. That was one of the huge ults for this fight. Sentinels understanding the win condition, which is to go aggressive with some plays, might pan out as they still have point control.
Yeah, that was a good fight there again by Sentinels. Amer holding on to that dance floor. Amazing, ready for the supernova as well. And there we go, as we do see it pop from Ricky on the side of Nemesis, who just want to get some pressure back. Mello going to take out Amazing out of the sky with Wolf. Crazy Man onto Amer, Amadian on to Techie, and down goes Nectar as well. And Amadian showing off the power of, well, we haven't seen a ton here of Namor, but he has been getting a ton of value today. So exciting to see him still on the docket here in that whale. Still getting a little bit of value, although it is not nearly as impactful as when Strangling Prison and Whale combination was.
Portal, kok nggak portal? Susah masuknya. Oh, bisa ada kapten. Nice.
And that's a nice pick there on the Dinks as well. Crimzo just applying a ton of pressure, obviously using
Bisa healernya mati
charge
semua.
to just have infinite HP and just be so difficult to escape from. The alt pop there from Crazy Man just to kind of stall the point as it is at 99. This could be enough to allow them to TP in. A great dash through to retake HP off point if you are on point. Ooh, Crazy Man has to fall off there and reset, trying to get the reset to portal back in.
Ew.
Before that goes away, Nectar going to take out Ricky, Korova on a scatter, and Techie on a Dinks, and wow, Sentinels holding on tight and getting the W.
Yeah, unfortunately, Team Nemesis committing every single ultimate in the previous fight now, or at least Stratus ultimates in that fight resulted in this next upcoming one. Just resulting in a crazy disadvantage, right? Sentinels just runs on in there with the Captain American charge, and then, you know, after that, just kind of run down these Stratus players trying to hide, and you can't really hide from Captain America or Psylocke, you know? It's sort of like, it really turns into a horror movie dealing with Captain America and Psylocke if you're a Stratus player, and we all know how hard it is to play against Cap Dives in the previous patch when he had the extra 50 HP, and he still is that character that, you know, that could do that sort of stuff. That just shows to show how strong he was in previous patches. And right now, Sentinels, you know, playing pretty, you know, strong, right? They're playing together as a unit. I think that even though they went up to 77% Nemesis, that is, on the first fight, they were able to kind of come back into it, set up aggressive dives, set up plays, play proactive. And I think that sort of favors the dive composition. We'll see how Team Nemesis does on this upcoming map. Maybe these squids get a little bit more value out of the Amadian on the Namor, but right now, dive is looking disgusting on Sentinel's side and alive as ever.
Yeah, Sentinels just showing their presence, their experience in these situations, even small things like Jet Bubble there out the spawn door to give them a little bit of a lead onto point so they can set up prior.
Oh.
You're right. Ooh, good tackle, but that is a flying hero.
Yeah.
Good idea
Flying.
there from Mello, trying to find an early pick. But we talked about that 77% there. Oh, nice throw again by Techie, who seemingly just doesn't miss with these Meteor M's. Nectar onto Scatter, and once again, Sentinels going to start off, and at this point are going to hold the point off the rip instead of Nemesis. But cycling back to what we were saying, Nemesis, 77% in that first fight, and still going to Sentinels shows how calm and collected they can be as a team who retook that point and never lost it.
Yeah, unless something crazy happens, I feel like Sentinels on this dive just looks so good. Look how it's just Crimzo and Nectar sort of tag team duoing together. You know, we've seen this with Human Torch and Ultron. Now we're going to see it with Captain America and Psylocke yet again. Constantly diving on these backlines, forcing out ultimates as Nemesis have them. Meanwhile, for Nemesis, it seems like they're all in on throwing this Wolverine, trying to play anti-air, but they have to constantly deal with Nectar and Crimzo on their backline.
Yeah, just the fact that it forces eyes in another direction is enough value. There's a tackle there by Mello. Not able to get the last stand value off anything just yet. We do see the Eternal Bond go out for Korova, holding on and stalling the point. And at this point, team just going to regroup, get healthy, and start the fight again. It's matched on both sides. Scatter going to find Amer, though. Nice pick there to not allow that to continue. And it is what a Supernova out to just hold this space. This is what we're talking about, the pure value of these fire tornadoes, making teams think about where they need to go. And honestly, just the clutter and the visual lockdown that it provides is value as well. Great ult here. Again, Crimzo finding dinks in the back. Nectar on the Scatter.
I mean, I think this is a meta-defining match right now. I mean, unfortunately for Team Nemesis, they pretty much played that perfectly. Now they're delaying with the Hulk. I mean, the Hulk's going to get deleted a little bit. Maybe a whale comes in, but here's Aramori with the Fate of the Worlds and Nectar on the backside. I mean, look how much value he's getting. He's distracting everybody with this Luna Snowflake and finding elimination. Sure, Craftsman took down Amazing, but right now, even with finding Aramori, that was like the perfect fight for Team Nemesis. They still couldn't win. And to me, that screams composition diff right now for Sentinels, as they have 93% on the board, looking to close it out as Craftsman comes in with the portal. Maybe they could find something with a last stand from Mello last second, or Median with this Horn of Probius.
Yeah, and that's a great TP play. If you have roughly 10%, you can get it there for the most part on domination. Up goes Scatter, and there's the whale combination. Does get two. Yeah, Median and Scatter, good combo there. Make that three. Amazing finds Ricky in the backfield. There's that dive. Finding value in the back of Median. Out of Amazing trading again. And it looks like Nemesis should get some percentage here.
Percentage built up. Scatter, no heals though. There's no heals because the healers are going down to Nectar. Nectar down to Median. Nectar is still doing so much work. Does go down to Scatter eventually, but to me, Shiv, this feels like, you know, Marvel Rivals, any hero shooter. These games turn into a matter of, you know, if you have to play perfect with the composition, it always is very hard to win with said compositions, right? Because for Sentinels, it feels like they can make mistakes and bring themselves back into it. We'll see if they can do it again though, as Amazing gets grabbed out of the sky.
Yeah, great focus there on the last stand away, and that's a value. Talking about massive bubble value, forcing last stand away from the tackle. Well done by Techie. Amazing getting one. Crimzo onto Crazemang, and once again,
they layered.
Just popping off. They did layer.
Oh no! I mean, if Sentinels disengage, just come back in with the Supernova and Aramori. I mean, this is gonna be brutal for Nemesis.
Yeah, you can't have that happen, as that is map defining in terms of just a huge net value loss. Amazing under Ricky there, trying to find another tackle play. This all is getting a ton of value. Bubble out again into the sky. Amazing make that three. Can I see four onto the Wolf, who has to touch now. Very close. Passive is popped. Wolverine, and that's virtually four as Cap is holding. Crazemang just trying to hold on as much as possible, but it looks like it is going to Sentinels.
What a map from Sentinels there, Shib, and, you know, moving forward, I feel like this is, we're going to see a lot more Human Torch prioritization. I know you talked about it, right? You talked about how important it is to get rid of that hero, and I think you were 100% on the money. Right now, this character can do so much alongside this Captain America dive with the Psylocke MVP, well-deserved for Amazing, who, you know, is a top flyer player in the game in general. It feels like he just plays flyers to such a high level. And for Sentinels, I'm sure they're happy to have a player like him on this team, constantly doing damage on this character. And unfortunately, like I said, I feel like that was a bit of a comp diff. And luckily, because these are the top teams and because they have top tier coaches, they adjust, right? It's a best out of three. It's only for seeding. But regardless, I'm sure we'll see some changes from Team Nemesis in the ban phase, because their prioritization of the Punisher removal and stuff didn't really work out. We've seen like kind of the fall off of Punisher when Human Torch is involved, and you know, you can see why. This feels like this Human Torch alongside the Psylocke die with the Captain America is just brutal. And you know, the way I would describe it is like hero shooters are a lot like top tier MOBAs almost. You know, if we talk about, you know, I'm not going to name specifically MOBAs, but it does feel like this game is all about making less mistakes, right? If you could play easy heroes that kind of synergize well together, aren't really hard to utilize to a high level, and make sure you can kind of group together as a unit. It's all about making the game easier on yourself. And right now, Sentinels with this dive composition with the Captain America and Psylocke setting up these off angles that you really can't clear on a map like Hell's Heaven. It feels like it's the smart play, and it feels like Team Nemesis are just fighting a losing battle off the rip, running this not dive composition.
Yeah, I'm with you on the point about Punisher into Torch. You know, you think hit scan into flyers and you think that is going to work out for you, but the sheer movement ability out of Torch and the escape ability. He also has an insanely high skill ceiling. So just the raw talent that you can bring to that character and just natural value with a ton of different implementations, from damage over time, from burst damage, from, you know, that shotgun spread off his left click. There's just so much to his kid. His ult, you know, his ult even takes a ton of space, and it can work out with combination. We saw a couple picks there where there's a ton to Torch's kit. In my personal opinion, if I'm not running Torch, I'm saying goodbye to Torch, but that's just how I would play.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what the ban phase is in store for Nemesis. I think we have our ideas on it, Shib and I. We'll see what the players and the coaches choose on Team Nemesis. It is a best out of 3, so they have it on the map, potentially come back on. We'll see you guys after the short break for game number 2.
Ntar ya, ambil minum.
Welcome back, everyone. Calm, cool, and collected. Sentinels looking absolutely smooth and taking home W on map 1 against Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, that was a clean map out of Sentinels. I think we can both appreciate it. It felt like a little bit of a comp gap, but you know, that's how the game kind of is right now. It's awesome. I think that there's a lot of changes that you need to make in this best out of 3. As we get deeper into the tournament, we'll enter best out of 5 range. You know, maybe for that grand finals, we'll see some different stuff because it allows you more time to adapt. But in the best out of 3 scenario, and especially, you know, map number 1, it's going to be tough to figure out what map you're going to play on. And unfortunately, that was like the worst map for Nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of compositions and smart play, right? Amazing MVP there, looking really strong. Roughly 24k damage with a ton of KOs. 27 up there right alongside Nectar at 33 casualties and 10 final hits. Honestly, the duelist line right now, no assists, honestly, is hysterical. It goes to show you just securing those KOs nearly every time they can. But yeah, I mean, the duelist line were amazing, and Nectar looked so good. Nectar was 30-2 there with 14 finals. You know, less damage is an indication of just really good burst potential, right? Just got the job done when needed to.
Yeah, the tough part about Psylocke is that I think, or the tough part about dive composition is that Psylocke player does get a ton of the credit, right? Nectar, amazing player. Why amazing? He put in so much work in the sky and enabled him to kind of pop off. Same thing with Crimzo. So obviously the Psylocke player gets a lot of the credit. Same thing with the Human Torch player, but it's the setup between Crimzo, the Vanguard players, anchoring. You know, we talked about earlier from Donglin playing the Doctor Strange. You know, on the opposite side for Techie to sort of play that anchor and allow Crimzo to go for that dive was a big deal. But game number 1 was Hell's Heaven. Nemesis, that's inarguably, I think, the worst map now. They've lost it every single time they've played it. Now we're entering Symbiotic Surface. This is the same map they picked versus Shroud X. So for Team Nemesis, this is their better map. Maybe they'll show that it's less of a comp thing and more of a map differential as Team Nemesis moves on to a better map for them.
I think it's super interesting that we're seeing a change in compositional run in terms of quote-unquote meta from just last week. Cap being seen so much more frequently, Psylocke all the time. Just goes to show you that teams are still finding new understandings, new learnings nearly every day in these scrims.
Sorry, pause.
Lock-in of Cloak and we see Magneto on the side of Nemesis. Similar lock-ins here for Magneto. Curious who they're going to lock in for the final lock right now. But I don't think they're going to change much in terms of their composition for Sentinels.
No, I don't think so either. Luna? Luna was played last time as well, right?
Yeah. So, yep.
But the difference is like that torch, like you said. So I mean, that's a good change. I think that's a hero that we talk about being a nuisance. They've already got rid of the Loki.
Torchnya di-ban terus.
The Human Torch and the Mantis, so identical bands actually.
Ya nggak judi kita.
It doesn't matter because nobody was going to ban Luna Snow or Cloak and Dagger. It looks like for both sides.
Yeah,
masih bisa.
A similar comp here. Obviously, the selections off the red may change. Red Mason showing the Panther. I would love to see that, but we do see a bit of a change here for Nemesis, which I think is necessary. You'd like to see a shake-up here. You need to see a shake-up, especially after seeing how strong Sentinels played together there on that collapsing dive comp. As we head into Symbiotic Surface here, this is a fun one to watch. We've only seen this a few times in the tournament so far, but it has not gone the distance from my understanding, or at least not in the last few days.
Yeah, and if you're taking anything away from that number 1, it was, I think, less to do with the players and more to do with the compositions played. And maybe going to this one, we'll see, you know, the mirror sort of, or you know, both teams sort of figure out their takes on the meta. Because, like we said, I mean, people probably wondering about Mantis being manned. It's like, okay, Mantis is not that good of a hero for a lot of people. His character enables other heroes, right? It enables the Ultron. It enables the Human Torch. And with the Human Torch removed, you know, you could still probably play something along, you know, the Human Torch, the Atom, with the Mantis, but Sentinels, the amazing Black Panther is coming out early. That's awesome.
Yeah, I saw it being hovered. Just am surprised to see it actually being executed. The whole team committing on this dive on the right side, grouping together. And this is something we haven't seen since Season 1, I feel, as most teams have been electing to fight right down main. They are going to choose to do that and rotate right back as the team try to set up. This is going to mess with the team's placement of those equipment as the turret is up cooldown. Well played here by Nemesis, who clearly likes this map as it was a selection here for them. As the losing team, you actually choose map and side. So this is going to be their selection. Amadian going to lose that turret relatively quickly, and now they're all fighting down main. It's amazing, trying to find this off angle.
Yeah, already set up for the dive. Unfortunately, couldn't push him off, and Ricky gets deleted off the face of the freaking planet.
Teams have been working on the Panther. Maybe since Self kind of showed how strong the Panther could be still in this meta. You know, they've seen a lot of tier lists, and everyone keeps saying Panther's not it. Maybe not it, but when you get a coordinated team with a person that can spin 180 with high sense, he is a threat. And we see Techie taking out Dinks, Mellow on
Panther susah kalau misalkan mereka main Penny. Tapi kayaknya nggak mungkin Penny dikeluarin di sini. Di turnamen.
They're finding trades, and this mag is doing his job, right, trying to keep the backline alive, and the backline trying to keep the tanks alive, the Vanguards alive, but they just cannot. Techie's there with the follow-up onto Amadian. It's 1 by 1. Could the trades come through for Nemesis? They did before. Doesn't look like that's happening today, and the portal also blocks off this side.
Kebuli banget itu.
Showing the dominance of Black Panther yet again.
Ricky.
Oh my goodness, right?
Apa invisible woman?
Panther looking incredibly strong, just a nuisance. And with getting things like Loki off the field, I believe Loki was banned out, it makes it even more difficult to keep the strat line up and healthy there. As you're getting dove, your comms start getting nervous, you start yelling at your front line to turn around, and that shit shakes up the meta and just in terms of team flow. So really well done here.
Yeah, this is the tough part about this patch is that, Black Panther is pretty much so hard to counter without the flyers, without that human torch. You're playing, sort of on the ground. Kraz going to switch over to the thing to try to counter it right now. Sentinels setting up the dives, goes in with the best.
And Amadian gonna pop that
Chaos
judgment, looking directly at Luna. Actually, when it was all set, Ken burst through Luna. Great bubble there, great protection, but still good utilization of those cooldowns to cycle them. Nobody goes down, even though the fire, there wasn't a ton of movement left and right to juke. They just kind of soaked it with cooldowns. Well played again. Sentinels as a unit. Crimzo on height now. Right, amazing. Just back and forth here with the Panther, trying to keep eyes away from his back line. And again, out goes the dance of the butterfly from Nectar, finding one. Ricky goes down, and again, odds are in the favor of Sentinels. Make that 2, 3, and 4 as Sentinels are already got this point 3/4 of the way through.
Yeah, the interesting development in this game, in this patch, has been the dive to come to fruition, and we're seeing the pro players react to these patches sort of live, right? Super last second. Nemesis now coming back through with the portal. They can maybe touch with a clobber in time from Kraz.
Yeah, I do like the thing switch. Very difficult to get that Yancey Street onto a dash by the Panther. Actually, you can kind of predict and throw it on your strat line and hope that he dashes through it. But once again, amazing. Just sweeping here. Patient, waiting out some of these cooldowns. Electing to dive when things are gone. And that's the key. Engagement timing is everything for Panther. Kit is definitely difficult, but not the most difficult hit in the game. It's all about when you dive. Amazing. Juking like crazy. Ricky goes down. Crimzo finding one. Again. And Nemesis
2 diver kayak gitu. Black Panther sama Psylocke. Aduh, Nice try. One hit.
Might be able to clean that up. Crazy Man gonna find Techie there with a punch, which cannot be eaten, and Mellow with a sweep. Good retake here by Nemesis.
Sentinel so close to Shredder's ultimates, and unfortunately couldn't build them in time, resulting in Mellow's ultimate connecting onto both strategists and removing them. Sentinel's now also without Techie's ultimate as he tried to clutch it through. But right now, Nemesis finally holding their ground with the thing. Maybe we're going to see the thing work out for the first time, I think, in this North American side, as Team Nemesis trying to counter the force that is the Sentinel's dive alongside our amazing Black Panther and Nectar on that sidewalk.
Comes over the engagement, immediately freedom charge. The team will follow up. Remember, as Cap is moving forward, if you follow in his wake, in that trail, you will gain shield. A lot of early Cap players don't understand that you actually need to run through your team. Allow that trail to be there. It's not an AoE around them. And Scatter trying to find a pick here. We do see invisible boundary right on point. And the entirety of the squads are both holding on. Nectar tried to get a dance, did not work. Crazeman going to turn that on Nectar. Amazing onto Mello again with the trades. These fights are so back and forth. Teams are both very strong in these fights. As we see Amadian take on Armori. Amazing again onto Dinks and Ricky. And Amazing on this Panther is insane right now.
Yeah, he's able to just roam free. Portal as well coming in late. Scatter using his earlier is a bit tough and going to go down as well. And right now, Sentinel is just sort of surrounding this objective. Nemesis trying to figure something out. Amadian off the Punisher is onto that Star-Lord. We've heard, people talk about how Star-Lord is maybe the switch up as well to deal with this Black Panther dive. But right now, dive looks so damn good. Nectar as well. Going to go back over to Psylocke off of that Strange for that portal. Last phase, this is not the best point for these dive compositions, so we'll see if Nemesis can stabilize with the thing. But right now, 2-minute hold, actually not too much time on the bank either for Sentinels. Nemesis haven't done the worst job necessarily in the Streets phase, but look who's setting up over the top. It's Ryan Amazing and Crimzo.
Yeah, no, we have a Star-Lord out with the lock. Does help against something like Panther in the spin to win on the back line. We are going to see a shift here and see if the momentum changes again. We do see, it looks like Nemesis finally getting their footing here, starting to group together. Panther initiating that dive with Cap, and you said it, together is the key. Combination of timing as they both go in at the same time. Out goes the Legend. Does it find anything? There's some value as Nectar goes down, and Amadian gets one. Bubble goes out. The combination made in heaven. Scatter and Amadian with that spin.
Gila.
Ricky and Dinks with a follow from Techie or Amori onto Amadian, and oh my goodness, it looks like Sentinels are going to sweep them all, and they do.
Gue kan main strategis juga ya, gue bakal frustasi banget sih kalau harus berhadapan sama Panther kayak gitu. Udah berapa kali ketemu.
Looking for Rye and Crimzo, so you got to match, 2-2 on those flank side. Nemesis still coming back. They do have ultimates. They saved them for this upcoming fight. So
Emma di ban gak sih? Kenapa nggak pakai Emma?
Yeah, the retake, alt advantage heavily on the side of Nemesis. We said it wasn't going to go the distance, and Caster Curse is very real. Haven't seen it in a while, and here we go. As we are going to see a fresh engagement. Nectar off the rip here. We're going to force out the dance floor. Team is stacking up. Good play. You force yourself away there, as you actually can look in the center of the dance of the butterfly. You see a little ring, and there will always be Psylocke planting there after the ultimate. The Meteor M out. Amadian going to take out Armor before it even finds value. Nectar onto Ricky there. Techie onto Dinks. And again, the strat line is in trouble for Nemesis as they're just trying to hold on with Mellows all here.
Itu tuh low banget.
And that could be enough as the numbers are heavily in Sentinel's favor right now.
Yeah, they are, but here comes the Legend met by the Meteor. Does not connect either, so he's able to get another elimination on a Kurova as well. But here comes the invisible boundary to let Sentinels hold on to this point and get rid of Crimzo. 5 seconds left too, and they don't have a portal. They're going to have to come back in with a very late ultimate from Armori. Strategist ultimate, not going to keep really anybody else here for the side of Sentinels. They only have 3 people on this payload. Kurova does switch to the Doctor Strange, but you're going to have to stall in overtime for him to come back.
Great pacing by Ricky with that ultimate there. It did allow the team to retake. This was a really good retake there. The numbers were heavily against them, and that should be enough to hold on for 4.3.
And Nemesis, they shoot enough time off the bank, and maybe we'll see this anti-dive composition come to fruition. Clintar, I think, is a hard map to fully cap out, but not a bad job there from Nemesis towards the very end, keeping his strategist alive, at least one of them alive. I mean, that's really all you could do versus a good Black Panther player. And on the opposite side, Mello finding eliminations onto either Kurova or Armor right before they have
Ting. Yeah, lupa ada Ting. Kenapa nggak pakai Ting?
Because the strategist line, it's not like the whole goal is to really pop off. Your whole job is to kind of stay alive and sort of keep your flankers alive when you can. It's a hard job to ask out of your strategists in this patch, but Sentinels usually a good job at doing it. Right now, Nemesis kind of staving off, forcing away those ultimates just in the nick of time every single time Armor or Kurova would go down.
That's where you may see something a little more unique, like a
sambil rebahannya, guys.
More try to do something to shut things down a little bit, or if you're FlyQuest the Penny, with the lockdown there, and just try to hope that your strat line can sit on those webs. Right, amazing. 21-2 with 11 finals. Nectar with 8 already. So looking really aggressive and strong as you can look across the entire board. The stats looking pretty even. Goes to show you that this team is playing together. Nectar getting shut down more with 6 eliminations, but still Mello trying to do everything they can right now. 7 final hits now on Strange, as we see a new retake here from Nemesis. What a play off the rip.
3 tank.
The rip also making sure to float just in case any shenanigans happens, but they're going to portal all the way into the backside, give themselves some space towards this health pack. And I think, oh no, is it too high? For some people, no, they can jump up, barely. That was 5 legs on the thing.
That would have been a little bit scary, but a good play there as they're going to own and completely flip the side, giving them height advantage. This does help shut down dive a little bit as the people that were setting up are no longer going to be able to and are forced to retake, but the setup is there. As you see Panther and Cap on the left side, the team's not aware of it yet, and here comes Cap from Crimzo trying to reflect the thing, going to own this zone. This is my backline, and I will protect. Amadian with the spin, ton of damage on a Panther. Panther going inside that bubble. Excuse me, Cap. Well done on the patience. Just reset together. Don't commit too much and be ready to go back on the backline again, forcing them off that height.
Here's Mello now coming through in the dive, and they're able to take down backline yet again. Nectar's going to fall too, so Nemesis really doing a good job at living and just kind of coming back into these fights, forcing off the flank. They're doing their due diligence. This is what we didn't see in the Ego game earlier, right? Team Nemesis kind of forcing out Rymazing, making sure that his cooldowns are used out of the fight, and during that time, during the downtime of Rymazing's abilities, when the cooldowns are up, that's when they're taking full advantage, running towards Kurova, running towards Aomori. And right now, I think Nemesis are playing perfectly. This is what we would have wanted to see out of Ego Death earlier on versus FlyQuest. Good teams play like this, and Nemesis are that team that can kind of take control of flank angles that Sentinel set up.
And one of the genius aspects of that play is putting them in a tight corridor like that may seem scary against something like Panther, but it allows your Yancey Street charge as the thing to get a ton of value. That zone of shutdown, limiting dashes from Panther and Cap jump is insanely valuable, especially when it covers the entirety of the hallway. Good throw here. Tries to get value, but no luck. Amadian going to continue with the legend. Returned right back here by Nemesis as Amadian finds Crimzo. Not able to land the Meteor M, the meatball, if you will, but still going to be a battle on point as Panther alive and well, holding on in the neutral. Now we're going to see a ton of ults get popped. Kurova out with the dance floor. Nectar holding on here, ready to use that dance of the butterfly. We have Mello right back. Similar story with the strat line and a ult here from Psylocke out from Mello. And there is the Ricky ultimate to keep the team in the back safe as Rymazing and Nectar both have ults here for Sentinels though, and nothing to counter it.
I mean, they're constantly on the back foot. Nectar finally able to find
ditinggal backline-nya.
Stay alive. Ricky pushes away Nectar, lives for a little bit long enough for his team to show up and take down Nectar. So right now, great job from them. Both try to just remove, but this cart is still pushing. And Nemesis almost towards the end of the phase. Right now, they're playing the objective super well. And also, oh no, that stagger pick onto Rymazing is brutal.
Yeah, Nemesis really showing up right now. 3 minutes 30 on. A similar position, I think slightly ahead of Sentinels at this point with the time in terms of the location of the point. Sentinels are going to have to find their footing here. They do have ult advantage in this fight, so they should theoretically take this one as we do see that Cap ult immediately. Freedom charged up, allowing the team to have a ton of HP. If you look at the back line, trying to get a pick here. Scatter goes down, Crazy Man goes down as well. Down goes Dinks, Rymazing with the 2-piece. Crimzo looking for another. But the escape is there. Great play there. Still holding on to all of
Gila, capek banget itu jadi supportnya.
Mello trying to find the trade, cannot, and finally
3 dive loh.
They got snowballed a little bit towards the very end, but they've stopped
3
it for
dive.
now. 3 minutes left on the clock.
Capek banget. Lah.
Scatter. Buddy.
Oh, kepencet ya.
Sometimes you try to hit tab and then you hit Q. You know what I mean? Sometimes you try to hit tab and you hit Q.
Scatter. Bit scatter brain there, maybe.
Team Scattered, I'll tell you that. And we are going to start off with our next fight as Scatter trying to get that off back quickly. Already 33%. Great shots. Amadian up with the Galactic Legend directly onto the strat line. Great bubble there. Talked about a 55 HP per second. Psylocke gonna pop that butterfly. Nectar still not able to get much. Just force out some stuff. Kurova with the dance floor. Clobbering timeout as well. Back and forth. We see Q's pop. There is the value as Amadian finds Techie. And that is a nice pick. Dropping the Vanguard this early. You're just gonna buy them space until Aomori pops out that ult. Dake's gonna take out Kurova though. Aomori's ult is gonna be everything they've got to stay out of the point. Hopefully she turned around and drove that towards points of the team. Can hold on. Crimzo gonna turn around on Amadian. Great pick there to even the odds a little bit as Sentinels need to
Masih
find some more
parang.
value here or Nemesis can roll with a numbers advantage.
Mello trying to
One
take
hit,
down
one
Crimzo's
hit.
one.
Holy
So
shit.
for this guy's improvement throughout the game. Crimzo barely hiding behind the box now, trying to take away. Rymazing was on the flank. I mean, he's playing pure anti-flank, chases down Rymazing, cooldowns out.
Nothing more brutal than seeing a cap at negative HP and still escaping full HP on the return. And here we go with the dunk. Not able to get anything with that meteor. Mellow on to Amazing. Another pick early. Again, Sentinels looking really good in these fights. And there is a ton. Just excuse me, Nemesis popping off. That's a 4-piece. Make that 5.
On point banget itu ultinya.
Well done, Nemesis. As
Excuse
me, Mellow off the pick there immediately for Nemesis. Gave them enough space. They followed up with a 4-piece after that. Nemesis is finding their footing with 2 minutes 25, roughly the exact same time that Sentinels had pushing into the third point.
Yeah, maybe this is Nemesis not looking too good on Hell's Heaven and now coming over to Symbiotic Surface. They did very well versus Shradex on this map as well. Just not maybe too strong of a domination team, but once they get to these sort of payload maps, they do very well. And right now, Kraz over to the Hulk as well to this third phase instead of the thing. And jeez, Nectar gets picked off again. Sentinels, it feels like they're always on the back foot right now.
Yeah, and Nemesis is finding their footing. We talk about them, maybe not feeling as confident on map 1, but things are looking up for them, right? Amazing now making the switch to Iron Man to try to find some picks onto the Cloak and Dagger during all. Unfortunately, did not work out for him there. Mellow with a good dash and escape. Meteor M up, not able to find much. Very weak, but does not get the pick. Mellow once again resetting. Very low, good dash out. Ooh, Psyche lied all morning with an off angle to find and clean up Mellow there. Well done. As now we see, oh my goodness, Amadian with 2. Make that soon to be 3. As they are walking now as a unit. The off-angle touch from the dive. Try to commit again, but Amadian says no to Crimzo. Will they get the final pick? Yes, they do. And they are going to shove this thing very close to the final point.
The switch to the third phase.
Itu desperate banget itu ultinya
Amazing on this. Iron Man is huge. Armory's over to the Jeff as well last second. Maybe try to just get some extra healing towards the objective. Crimzo also with the freedom charge ready to go, but Amadian sitting with the shotgun toward this objective.
I think Armory was thinking about it. Maybe they were considering the storm. I got to check on the bans again. But no, did go back again. Oh, yeah, out of Jeff. Yeah, that's fun. Good call. Amazing with a nice pick there on a Craze. And now the odds are turning back in their favor. 42 seconds. They're going to have one more major touch at this. As a unit, they're going to have to reset. You do not want to get picked now. You want to come in hot with a potential portal play if they decide to do it. Doesn't look like they're doing it just yet. It's just going to be a natural touch here. And then if anyone goes down, the comm is to make that switch and teleport in.
I mean, Sentinels to secure themselves into that grand finals of their group. They're going to have that maximum pulse. Scatter's going to have Meteor M to go to counter it. We'll see if he holds on to that ultimate ready to go for this. Melio, meanwhile, Armello drops in early with the Dance of the Butterflies.
Yeah, and that's going to force out some stuff. No, Amazing goes down, and that is a giant pick as we will not have that pulse ready to counter. Danks is going to ult in, feeling more safe, knowing that Amazing is down. Now that we're in OT, the spawn timers, an additional little bit of time here. The dunk goes out from Meteor M. Techie, not able to find anything there. Kurova is done. Armory back now, using that ultimate Nectar as well. Amadian trying to get a pick, but Amadian goes down. Amazing gets 2, playing a ground Iron Man, and still able to get it done as Nectar takes out Ricky, and Sentinels are holding firm. Amazing with another ult, and that is going to clean them up, and Sentinels are going to win against Nemesis and push themselves in to the grand finals.
What a series. I hope we get to see it again. I mean, Sentinels pushed to the brink of elimination in this round, at least to get to make sure they don't get that #1 seed, or at least send them down to the loser brackets. Regardless, I mean, beautiful gameplay from Sentinels towards the very end, and at a Nemesis, right? I think both these teams played very high-level Marvel rivals, and that's what we talk about. That's what we want to see, right? As we get to the latter half of this tournament, that's when we start to see the top teams play each other and see really high-level thinking. You know, map #1, I feel like it was hard. I feel like they did get a little bit of comp gap. This one didn't feel like much. I mean, it didn't feel like that. I think Mello played really well. So did Amadian. This entire roster played well. I think it was a hard-fought match for Nemesis, and they really were so close to winning it. I mean, they had so much time in the bank, but so did Sentinels on their attack. That just goes to show how hard it is to capture out Clintar as Sentinels stopped Nemesis last second. Definitely hope we get to see this matchup again, Shib, because it was a great one.
Yeah, and we talked about prior the
Statnya
talk
seimbang
about
sih.
Strat 2 and a Strat 1 in comms, and I think that Luna nowadays is taking more of a Strat 2 role. As you can see, 13-5 on the damage charts for Korova. Strictly just raw damage out there for Luna Snow, who has 20 elims there, just popping off 2 finals, but 13k damage alongside 57k healing for Korova is absolutely obscene. Needs to get some attention. So well done there. Most healing by over 12k damage. So yeah, just a beautiful work there for Sentinels playing together as a team. You talk about it, everyone's stat lines looking pretty similar across the board. Sentinels once again showcasing why they should be considered a top seed and pushing through on Clintar, a thing that we haven't seen too frequently. So very well done again by Sentinels.
Yeah, I mean, it was a back and forth matchup. Ryan switched to Iron Man towards the end on third phase. Definitely more of a comfort pick for him. I think Flyers in general are really strong. Storm and Iron Man. I think people talk about, who is the next up Flyer outside of the Human Torch right now. I think Human Torch right now is probably the number one. I mean, some people could say Storm. Storm has had their moments as well, but right now, I mean, you don't really know exactly what to switch. We haven't seen too much top tier, I think, Iron Man gameplay as well. It's been tough for Iron Mans in general, but maybe this variance of Iron Man against the Hulk, against this Psylocke, I think a lot of these changes kind of enabled them, especially since Black Panther on third phase is a bit rough. But here is your MVP. It's Korova from the series. He played pretty damn good.
Yeah, we talked about the raw damage. Korova, absolutely great positioning, great ultimates, a ton of damage out there to help things like that dive by Panther, clean up some of those KOs and just find value with a single dash. So amazing, great play there. I love to see that as well. Panther to Iron Man, definitely more obscure picks. Definitely something you might see in ladder, but maybe not as much in tournament.
Yeah, maybe not as much in tournament so far. I think we'll see moving forward. I think Sentinel's definitely favoring that. I think they showed a little bit of their cards, at least on third point on Clintar, and for Nemesis, I think that's something you don't feel too bad about that matchup. I think Sentinels was a good team. I think you can maybe look at slight changes. Like I said, I've been really impressed with Mello. I think that this whole team as well, Nemesis, they're a very talented roster, and I think their macro is pretty good. I feel like Mello's improvement is definitely understated. I think he's gone from like magic one trick to just this. I mean, he has so many heroes in his hero pool. He's pulled up the Psylocke, he's pulled up the Human Torch. I think he plays so many heroes for this Nemesis roster, and I think even though they lost 2-0, he's definitely improved to me as well on the Wolverines. So we'll have to see more of this Nemesis squad in the loser bracket. We'll see what they could do, see if they could secure that second or first seed, if they give themselves that run back into the grand finals. But for Sentinels, what a 2-0 win for them, and a team as well that definitely needed something like this to prove they're still a force and still a top-tier team.
Yeah, and 70K on the line, moving this deep into the tournament for that first place prize is going to add some pressure. I do agree, Mello, most damage in the entirety of the game, 29K damage, 13 finals, looking really good. Amadian up there with 13 as well. Oh, excuse me, Amadian at 32, so very strong by both of them, looking really clean, but just could not clutch it up at the end there, as Sentinels do a great job in those big team fights, always staying calm and finding value with each ult. A lot of strategists negating big ultimates. We saw Amazing trying to make some plays there with Iron Man. We saw a ton of picks with like ground Iron Man, because that's what you got to do when you have the cloak ult out. You got to play on the ground, makes you virtually immune, and you can just deal a ton of raw damage.
Yeah, I think that goes to show. I think that series as well kind of proved. They played Cloak and Luna, right? And then on the other side, did they play Invisible Woman alongside? I don't remember, but regardless, no, they played for both teams.
Yeah, I think Invis came out for Ricky towards the end too for Nemesis as well. So it was Cloak and Invis towards the end, but I believe that was the case. But really, yeah, I liked. We saw those boundaries get a ton of value as well. 32K, a ton of damage, out on both sides for the strategists. The strategists are really good damage.
Well, where do we rank these heroes? Because right now, I think strategist-wise, it does feel like Cloak and Dagger, Luna, and Loki are kind of in their own tier, and then Invisible Woman sort of like bouncing around, right, between the top tiers. Maybe still is one of those top tier heroes. I mean, compared to like running like a only Mantis or Jeff duo, strategist duo.
Yeah, it's difficult because at this level of play, they're finding value that you may not see in ladders. So we're going to get a lot of these questions answered here right now as we start talking to Nectar, who
Investu masih tertinggi sih, cuman bisa dibilang dia tuh situasional.
How you doing, Nectar?
Hey, what's up? Good, how are you?
I'm good, man. Hey, I just got to ask you quickly. You guys are really seeming to enjoy
Di
that
kamarnya ada
Cup. You
rumah mainan
are going in
kucing.
heavy with the Psylocke and Crimzo with the cap.
Kucingnya
Is that something
mana?
you guys recently added to your belt?
Well, I think I do like the life cycle of this game. I've been pretty committed to playing Psylocke most of the time, and I feel like Crimzo really understands my playstyle, and you know, we play off each other pretty well. And it's like, I feel like since like the first day I played with Crimzo on like any dive character on Psylocke, I felt like there was sort of a lot of synergy with each other, you know, on these dives.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, a lot of natural synergy between you two, and you know, for Sentinels, for your roster as well moving forward. I think that, you know, we would not be surprised to see you guys sort of make these dives. And I think that the great part of that series between you guys and Nemesis is there was that sort of variance towards third point on Clintar. Can you sort of discuss that? Like, why switch to the Iron Man? You know, why switch up some things last second against Team Nemesis when, you know, Black Panther was seemingly doing pretty well on the attack, and then also, you know, early on in the match?
Well, I think that map we just made the adjustment where, you know, the thing made it kind of hard for our dives to have the immediate value on the hits. And then the Iron Man kind of let us to play pretty easily in the front to back comp and get more value out of each of our picks.
I mean, in that first domination, you were 30-2, if I remember correctly, something like 14 finals, obviously just dominating as Psylocke. I've got to ask the question in terms of banning strategy. With you guys committing to this dive and being more aggressive, are there any heroes you want to ensure are always gone? Something like Loki?
Yeah, I feel like Loki makes it really hard, especially with the clones and the rejuvenation domain. It makes it pretty hard for Psylocke and divers like that to find early value in the fight. But when he's out, it requires a lot more response, you know, when you're going in on these fast engages.
Makes Vanguards turn around too much, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and on that, I mean, like, Nectar, what do you do on, like, Psylocke if you are being looked at a lot? Like, do you change your play style a little bit, or what's up?
Yeah, I think that's the best part of Psylocke, especially because her passive makes her a lot more versatile than other divers like Black Panther. Like, as you saw, when they talk to the thing, he's kind of forced to have a more laid back or wait for more opportunities to come into his hands. But Psylocke can be a lot more proactive and make your own opportunities.
And do you think this is sort of the way moving forward with this patch? You know, I think a lot of people were running Storm, Punisher previously, but, you know, maybe moving forward, are we going to see a little bit more dive regardless of bans and protects, or do you think things are still up in the air, maybe with the triple res compositions and stuff, and like Mantis maybe?
I think this patch allows for a lot more creative freedom, especially since the bans aren't universal for both teams. Like, teams can play into their best play style, you know, what's best for them, as opposed to, you know, what can, like, as opposed to last patch, you know, when the bans were universal, like, certain teams have to ban Torch versus certain teams, but it was a lot more gateways for us to, you know, maybe catch some people on surprise.
Awesome, man. Clearly, you know, appreciate your insight. Obviously a very intelligent player. Any major thing you want to say for the final thing? Any shout out, anyone you want to thank before we say goodbye to you?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, you know, for taking a chance. I was kind of an unknown player before, and thanks to my girlfriend and my family.
Awesome, man. Humble. Love it.
Thank you.
Oh.
Oh, and shout out Mon. Mon from India.
Shout out, Mont.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right, thank you. Great talking to you guys.
Appreciate you, man. Yeah.
Pacarnya disebut.
Top of the
So sweet amat.
So, appreciate it, Nectar, coming on in. Shib, man, what a series from Sentinels. Good to talk to Nectar, too. Good to see you, Nectar, as he longs off to go relax for the day. You know, an incredible matchup. Good to talk to him for the first time as well, because like they said, I mean, they took a chance on him, right? He was sort of unknown player coming into it. You know, on the ranked ladder, everybody knew him. He was popping off, but, I mean, what a series from Sentinels and him.
Yeah, as we're going to look forward here to the Group B bracket, you'll see now Sentinels secured their spot in the grand finals. And now we're going to look down towards the lower bracket coming up here tomorrow, as Nemesis and Shroud X will be duking it out again to see who's going to go back and try to take out Sentinels for that spot.
Yeah, I think that's going to be an incredible matchup. Whoever wins in Nemesis and Shroud X, I think Nemesis put up a good fight, and they also beat Shroud X earlier. I'm sure Shroud X want to avenge themselves. So this is for seeding, and I think Shroud X as well is looking stronger as the tournament progresses. We'll see how they do. Obviously, Dogman came in earlier to talk about how, you know, losing their own tournament wasn't ideal. now that it's not their tournament, maybe now that they're in away territory in the Ignite series with the pressure cooker heating up, I think, Shib, we're going to see a lot of the best out of every single team. Maybe not Scatter in the last game, you know, with the ultimate, but mistakes happen, and I think Nemesis still played well regardless of that ultimate in not being not in play. Still kind of a funny flub up. Hopefully Scatter, you know, brushes it off moving forward, but still funny to see.
Yeah, that's one of those mental mistakes you just got to shake off.
Kasian.
Everyone has had those moments, every single last one of us. But yeah, it was a ton of fun to watch. We know Nemesis is strong. It was one of those games that took against Shroud X to game 3. So I'm excited to see that rematch. And before we get into our final match, which could potentially be one of the most intense matchups that we're all looking forward to, we're going to toss it to break. See you shortly.
Kayaknya gue pernah dia sekali kayak gitu juga. Pas lagi di spawn, terus kepencet Q. Soalnya dia kan sebelahan sama W ya. Jadi kayak kalau lu mainin W itu jangan sampai kepleset ke kiri ya udah kepencet Q. Gue ngantuk banget lagi.
내게 주어지는 면 꿈꿔도 너와 나 그래 그래서 네 운명에 The fate of the both the words is in our hands 큰 걱정 따윈 던지고 최선을 다해 춤을 춰봐 나도 믿어 나래까지 아름다운 꿈을 밝혀봐 우리에게 달려서 되새기며
Welcome back, everyone, as we head into our final match, potentially the match you have been looking for, 100 Thieves versus Envy, both of which are in the conversation for the team of the tournament. I cannot wait to get eyes on this.
I can't either, man. I mean, we're super pumped, super excited. Top teams playing. We just saw in the last series in Sentinels and Nemesis, you saw what high-level thinking can do, high-level gameplay as well. So we're definitely in store for that. This was the technical group of death, Shib, man. So we get to see 100 Thieves versus Envy, and this is the matchup everybody, like you said, probably wanted to see.
Yeah, so Envy had dropped the map, 100 Thieves, flawless so far in the tournament, but Envy, obviously, you know, we know how strong they can be. There's a lot of contention for, out of all of these roles with these players, can be considered some of the top players in each individual role on both sides. You know there's going to be fans
100 Thieves.
As we push forward, you can see Envy as
Goal,
shown,
it's
only
100
one map
Thieves.
lost to Solaris, an incredible team, honestly, who had a tough bracket layout, who got a win on Envy there, but you look over at 100 Thieves, walking through Luminosity, walking through Jobless Bums, and here they are, ready to take on Envy as we head into the, right before the finals here of Group B.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be the matchup indeed to look out for. And like you
100 Thieves, kepanjangan kita singkat apa, guys? 100 aja kita yang manggilnya 100.
They're doing Jeff NATO, and it wasn't working out because Solaris played super well around it. And for 100 Thieves, it's been non-stop domination pretty much every single map. So we don't really know the weaknesses publicly, at least just yet. Maybe in other tournaments we've seen it, but yeah, Shib, it's just going to be a good matchup, I think.
Yeah, you got similar, hero pools on either side too. You got the Flyers.
Envy itu juga bagus ya.
Back in the day, we saw the hella back and forth matchups, which were a ton of fun to watch. So, looking forward to seeing any sort of locked-in back and forth matchup we might get here. As we head in, the one thing we got to show you before we go into this match is the skins coming out here that had just dropped, I believe, a few days ago. Ultron taking over in the MCU. You only saw Ultron get so far, but in some of these comic lines, Ultron.
Ini ganteng banget skin Iron Fist yang ini.
As you see, Iron Fist in this skin, super cool. With Ultron taking over, I can't wait to get my hands on this in game. I'm sure a lot of Iron Fist mates have already copped this. And then you look over at the Phoenix Knight here for Moon Knight. That gives you an inkling of
Tapi gue bete banget sama
huge fan of Phoenix in the comics. Just
Lin di in game
forces
malas.
in the comic line. So you love to see Moon Knight decked out in red and gold here. Super cool look. And Moon Knight still definitely playable, as we've seen him a few times in this tournament.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as somebody who abused that character early on when he was when the hand of Khonshu was a little broken, that character's awesome, and that skin is freaking amazing. I mean, I just love that skin. Not to talk about too many skins too much, but I think that's definitely his best skin, at least from my perspective. But we'll see what happens with that skin and with Moon Knight specifically if he returns to the meta. I know that we saw Bedtime, you played with him before in ranked. That guy can play Moon Knight to a pretty high level. But you know who also plays every single hero to a high level? It's both these teams in 100 Thieves and Envy, man.
Yeah, like I said, you can talk about the Vanguards, the Strategists, and the Duelists on both sides. And honestly, you could put all of their roster in the conversation for being the top of that specific role. So I think we're going to see some serious competition back and forth here. And they could see some mirrored compositions, and that is going to spark some serious conversation as we see Terra, Delena, TTK, Vinny, Harvey, and SJP. TTK, the story behind him, a controller Vanguard. Rarely do you see controller at this high of a level. Obviously, Smash over there on the Duelist line, and then you got TTK here on the Vanguard line. Just a menace out there with Strange and Magneto. Delena, very strong with things like Hello, a little more hit scan, Namor, Psylocke, we've seen Iron Man, and then Harvey, just the jack of all trades. Harvey, obviously, Loki in the back line, doing a great job in the strat line. Honestly, I can speak about all of them. Terra plays virtually everyone, it seems like. This team is insane.
Yeah, absolutely, you're right. I think that this is definitely a star-studded lineup, and You know, maybe we don't have to talk about the controller discussion anymore, too much rather. I love pointing it out, but it does feel like we always, you know, there's always somebody in chat that's like, he's on a controller? No way, he must be terrible. But it's like, TTK is definitely Timothy John James Jr. the third, whatever you want to call him. I mean, TTK is him in this game, probably in contention for the
Siapa
best
yang main di controller?
pro scene, but you know, there's a lot of
100
good
pada
players
main di
over in
controller.
Europe as well, and DRP and a few others. So, you know, we'll see where that actually goes. But 100 Thieves, definitely a great team, like you mentioned. And they have so many players who've made the transition between metas very well. And that's really the benefit. That's what the strength in this game is. That's what hero shooters, the tough part is. It's being meta-proof, right? This meta, I think, this patch change to 2.5 in adding Ultron and stuff, adding these characters, having so many changes has made teams rethink how they play the game. Team Envy, one of those teams, speedily coming in, being that Psylocke player, coming over, playing Storm to a high level, and Cal also deviating away from the Hela. He was known as probably the best Hela player, now going over to things like Wolverine at sometimes, right? So the flexibility is key, and this team, Team Envy, definitely one of the best at flexing.
Yeah, and then we can talk about Kaluge, some of the biggest strange ults we've seen in any tournament over these last few matches. Just very, very confident there. Window, not afraid to pull out the group. We've seen Emma, etc. And then we just got a shout out, I believe, for Month in the last game. Month doing a good job on the Luna Loki rocket. Seems to fill pretty much any support necessary as Nero plays that Invis Mantis cloak. Just a ton of they've got viability across the board. They can play anything. You know, even we go back to Other Thieves, Vinny still making Groot super powerful. Same with Window on Envy. It's just like they can still run whatever it takes and get the maximum, you know, value out of that character, even in a meta that maybe doesn't favor them as much, or even after slight tuning of that specific hero.
Yeah, we forgot, at least I forgot to ask, because it was the first time we have interviewed Nectar. It's cool to talk to him for the first time. I feel like it'd be a great conversation to see maybe who recommended him for the tryout for Sentinels. Maybe it was Month, you know, maybe behind the scenes, Month pulled for his boy and he got that tryout. So we'll see. You know, when we talk to Nectar later down the line. But for Team Envy, like you said, it's just over across the board. Everybody is so good. Nero, you know, formerly a top-tier duelist player, picking up Strategist and kind of popping off. Same thing with Month. Month has been such a standout in terms of his Strategist gameplay. So Envy definitely up there with the star-started lineup, says everybody else. And, you know, I wonder if we would ever have, like, an all-star discussion, Shib. You know, I think we talk about it behind the scenes, but you know, and we talk about it here maybe a little bit, but I don't know, maybe we could have an official All-Star Ignite roster. Maybe some fans put together a cool little graphic, you know, who the All-Stars potentially could be. I know that there's, you know, other scenes that make like little cards where they put like the rating out of 100, you know, how you would like a sports, like a soccer player or something like that. So that'd be cool maybe if some awesome fans who are talented at the graphic design could make something along like that.
Opening some packs of rivals champions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'd be down.
Listen, man,
I got one. A small flex. I got one back there a little bit. They did that kind of thing, you know, back in the day. But so maybe we see something like that. Envy, 100 Thieves, both teams who could, you know, definitely win this whole tournament shit. And both teams have shouts at the potential all-star lineups that we were talking about.
Yeah, I think we can see some really, you know, different bands here, although they are electing to get rid of the heroes that they may see as the most.
Gue juga suka tuh gameplaynya Delena, 100 Thieves. DPS dia. DPS-nya kalau nggak salah mereka tuh Delena sama Terra.
Trying to keep that Magneto. So Loki, obviously incredibly strong, banned the most in the first weekend. We're probably going to be close here for a similar ban out in the second weekend. As we progress forward, we are going to see Torch getting locked down. And I agree with that. Holy, we've talked about that.
Absolutely. I think you're right. Storm banned second for 100 Thieves.
Pro player nicknya tuh pendek-pendek ya, kayak cuman satu kata doang.
100 Thieves, one of those teams that does prioritize that.
Kalau gue harus pakai nick satu kata apa ya enaknya ya?
With teams that do well, Shib, the interesting part is that if you do well despite, you know, composition, sometimes you can get baited into playing off meta, quote unquote, right? Because if you do well, you're not learning, right? This is what we talk about, the teams that lose, you know, they try to go back to the drawing board, figure something out. If you're winning, a lot of teams are comfortable with winning,
nama Pokemon aja lah.
And sometimes you can get quote unquote baited into playing bad compositions, as you know, that can happen 2 weeks into a meta, right? So we're still early days into a patch. We don't really know what is the best just yet, and teams are still figuring out.
Tapi ntar kena copyright nggak ya kalau pakai nama Pokemon?
For 100 Thieves on Burning T'Challa.
Yeah, I mean, you can get complacent is what I think you're going for there, where it's like you run a comp, you get a W, teams are evolving,
Atau
and they're
pakai
finding
nama
composition that can
makanan
beat the comp that you were
kesukaan.
winning with. So if you get complacent, it can definitely be a pain point, and they can exploit you as they find new
Yogurt.
ways to shake this up. They're going to get rid of that Punisher too.
Yogurt.
We're going to see the lock-in of Wolf.
Lucu sih.
Wolf is terrifying for everybody on the front line there. The Vanguards, he's in my nightmares for sure. With that weapon
Torch
action,
di
you know what I mean?
band terus.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right on that mark. 100 Thieves. Been also a team on Krakoa to specifically play, I believe it was either Punisher Hella or Winter Soldier Hella on that map. So they love to play that sort of anti-dive composition. They have not forced towards that dive. So the matchup is going to be interesting because I think Envy loves to play speedily on that Psylocke. By the way, speedily, you freaking jerk, change your name back to speedily. Stop being speedery. What are we doing, man? Come on. We love your gameplay, but change your name back, please, for us casters, okay? We're too small brain.
I love it at this point, man. I'm locked in.
No! Hey, don't stop! Don't encourage him. What are you doing?
At this point, it's
Kenapa emang speedery namanya?
Is this the first time we've seen? This is the first time we've seen Hella today.
Gua nggak-
And I know we
nggak
talked about
merhatiin
it. I was
tadi.
like, I still think Hella is better than Punisher. I cannot believe we just aren't seeing Hella out here like at all. So exciting to see that come back here. At least it was shown for the moment. Yet Delena looks like they are going to be locked in to Hella here off the rip. And here we go for the start of this fight.
Oh, it's going to be an incredible matchup. Speed's out of spawn already with the Jeff. And like you said, I think it's a difference of opinion, right? We have dive enjoyers versus Hella enjoyers, right? In 100 Thieves, you know, maybe one of those teams that love to play the Hella. The tough part with Hella is that you kind of need it's very hard to get rid of flyers, Psylocks. A lot of players who are good with their cooldowns because they'll take one shot from the Hella and then duck behind cover just to get healed. So we'll see if this Hella can work out for 100 Thieves, who's playing pretty much pure anti-dive.
Speedery trying to engage early there onto Delena on that off angle. Both taking the same thought, but with the Venom, this could be really impactful. Good escape there again as the teams are just kind of buying each other, testing each other a little bit. Delena going to find Month early, though. Down goes a strat immediately for Envy. 100 Thieves up a number. That could be enough to hold this first point. A lot of teams will like to break this point. If you actually shoot at this glass center, you actually shatter this and then pull up that defensive position on both sides. Some teams, depending on what they've scrimmed, they like to do that early, especially if they're running flyers, but it looks like they do not want to do it yet as we start up this second fight, and down goes Cal.
I mean, Delena might have the most aura out of any Hella player. I think Cal is up there as well, but Delena to me has always felt like the best Hella behind
Iya,
the scenes.
Delena.
It's gonna match it. We get that classic matchup.
Gue sering nontonin videonya buat belajar Hela. Gue kan Hela main juga.
Just trying to build that all charge. You can see on the bottom right there, the sticks on the controller. Gotta love to see that change in visual as they just play very patiently. He is a very strong Magneto. Patient with those shots. You don't want to hold down that trigger. You want to click it when you can. And there's an immediate alt there. Dance the butterfly from Speedery. Cal drops out. Does avoid it. Speedery trying to make a play. Excuse me, there's Delena. And we do have, a Bucky out here. Starting with a crack and impact. Been a while.
Yeah, been a while. Terra trying to find something, gets that resets as well. TTK over the top, slam, dunk onto both Nero and Mont. Try to just remove. That's one way to do it, Shib. Opening it up, and Delena's spacing has been beautiful so far. Speedily has felt awful. And that's the tough part about this round specifically. I think this is Hella's best map or best round, and maybe Psylocke's worst, right? The spacing is so easy to do because the dashes, you can only get so close to the Hella. This map is so wide and so long range that Delena is always able to space perfectly. And I think this is the best we've seen him play so far. It's obviously the easier map to do it, but right now Speedy's having a hard time finding that dive, and that's why Windows over to the Doctor Strange now as well and off that Venom.
Yeah, a lot of Hellas here are looking to hold on to that all until they're in trouble. It essentially resets HP bar, gets you in the sky with a fair amount. Delena and Cal just back and forth here, doing a little bit of the dance on Hella. We're going to see this initiation with the right click, getting driven back heavy. Now Envy starting to apply some pressure as Month is copied up, starting to use that dance as they press forward. We see Speedery take out Delena, and this is what Envy needs to get this point as they're down almost 90% off the rip. And there goes another as Month takes out Vinny, and down goes TTK and SJP as now we're going to start seeing some gain here from Envy, who are slightly up and alt, but that will change shortly as TTK and SJP are going to have it as well.
Yeah, I guess Vinny's going to stay on that thing to match, speedily on that Psylocke as Envy poke for ultimates. I mean, this is still anybody's game, even though 100 Thieves got up to 88%. These domination games go fast. Ultimates aboard from every single squad. Strategist ultimate's going to get popped. We'll see how the mid-fight turns out. As on 100 Thieves, they don't have the crystals, and they're missing that Loki.
Yeah, nothing used yet. Just able to take that space back without anything major committed. But now Envy is going to have a fair amount. And there we go. We do see the dance floor begin. Out goes the butterfly and the goddess in the sky trying to make something happen. But no, on either side. Does Kalush? Nope, not able to land that either. As all of these are just being traded back and forth with no value. The time. Ooh, good decision there from TTK. Trying to wait till his crystals to the very last second. Took height to hope. Zelena onto Cal. And that's another pick for Zelena. A mean eye goes out here for Window. But not able to collapse. Great cloak there to escape. As they're still battling, cracking it back up for Terra. Trying to land again, but out goes another dance floor. These are being traded back and forth as nobody finds value. Window takes out Terra and does turn that back around in their favor for the side of Envy. We're still holding on to this point. Now it's 70%.
Yeah, that ultimate came in so clutch. They were on the brink of losing it to that Bucky ultimate. The crack at impact runs out. Now we have no ultimates available. Speedily coming back up on another dance with the butterflies. Delena on the back left, looking for Cal early, making sure he pressures out that Hela in the back line.
Yeah, and we are going to see a neutral here. Speedery does have that ultimate. It does go out. No major values. They all stack there with the dance floor. They are pushing forward now as SJP has ult out. TTK and Vinny very close. Delena very close. Harvey as well. It's going to be anyone's fighting this next. It's all about how long they can stall so Envy can get an ult advantage right back and try to tie things up. Points back on the side of 100 Thieves. Up in the sky we go with the goddess of death raining down. Goes Nero.
Ketinggalan.
Shot there. Weaving it and there is an ult out for Window, who finds Harvey and SJP, and that is massive for Envy as they are evening the odds here, and there is a lockdown. Up we go with TTK. Got to find value here, not able to. Terra drops Window, so back and forth here again, but it looks like this one might go to 100 Thieves. Loki, great positioning, great clones, and great crystals, but there they go as Kalush falls. It's all about can the Strats hold on, and I don't think they can for long. It is going to be going to 100 Thieves.
Now, this is absolutely the highest level of North American Marvel rivals. Round number 1 goes in favor of 100 Thieves. That percentage they built up, you mentioned earlier, Shiv, just ended up to be too much. I mean, they played almost perfectly, Team Envy did, right? They almost zoned out, but it is the smallest of margins that you can absolutely lose these fights. Unfortunately for Cal, not able to get any final hits. He's had a rough kind of go at it on the Hela, but it's difficult because I think Delena gets a little bit more sustained, like gets a little bit more help in terms of, having the thing, getting that damage reduction, as well as Delena. Pretty much, it looks like his entire focus is just on Cal, right? It seems like everybody else on the side of 100 Thieves is focused on an actual team fight, as Delena making sure Cal is never comfortable, constantly pressuring him out, constantly using those daggers to make sure he's in a tough spot.
Nggak bisa masuk dari tadi.
A little bit easier. I think Speedily should do a little bit better on this round.
Nggak dapat
Terra,
space.
meanwhile, over to that Wolverine is going to keep sticking with it off of the Bucky.
Yeah, it goes back to the conversation about what they wanted to decide to do for this fight. I mean, like you're saying, that focus on Cal could have very much been a strategy decided prior to this game, just shutting down somebody, having full focus, doing things like putting that damage reduction out from Vinny, as that is the major value here with the thing that we're seeing at this level of play. Obviously, you can get some value with clobbering, especially if they're stacking on strategy salts. And tackle, later, as down goes Kaluj. Terra just flying in the sky like a bird, and there's the throw onto another great tackle off the rib, tries to escape, or tries to get a tackle, but does not, and instead escapes. Terra just so terrifying, if you will, on this Wolverine.
Yeah, he absolutely is amazing. Speedily go to the backside, kind of making presence be known as he finds 3 off of the Dance of the Butterflies. That's why this man, seen as the best Psylocke in North America. Tap definitely has a shout, but Speedily has that thrown. He's gotten 5 in this fight alone with no Stratus ultimates in sight. Or rather, they did have Stratus ultimates. They were not there to counter them. Now Envy, just off of a fantastic ultimate from Speedily, set themselves up. And this is what I was talking about, Shiv. I think that Psylocke will do a lot better on this round, specifically when we enter the Warrior Falls. This character can kind of pop off here.
Yeah, there's a lot tighter. There's tighter rotations. You don't have to dash nearly as long to find like an escape route or natural cover. And I do agree with you. I think it's a great, it goes to show you how certain heroes can perform better on various maps, and more of a difficulty there prior, but now definitely tighter windows as we press forward. Envy does have ult advantage and 30 on the ticker right now. Terra does have that last stand ready, potentially trying to tackle some off the map, just buying some time, and there is the last stand. Immediately down goes window. Ults are popped now, as we are going to see a battle back. Envy down one number, ult advantage still in their favor, but you gotta find something to even the odds here. Out goes the bubble.
Langsung setengah anjir darahnya, tank. Stratnya mantep banget.
But doesn't even get the pop of the passive there.
Bah.
Yeah, doesn't even get passive, like you mentioned. Now they come back in through with the cloak of the deck. Terra got Kaluji off the map again. Are you kidding me?
Mereka cuma
I mean, beautiful work from the side of 100 Thieves to cap this point.
pukul-pukulan
Damage. Also, portals here. Amer unfortunately is going to miss. Speedily still gets Delena and also Harvey.
Yeah, Speeder can make a big play here. These picks are very valuable in this moment on the back.
One hit banget itu, gila itu, cakep banget covernya. Siapa tuh tadi yang one hit di cover sama Magneto?
No more rocket jump, but still finding a few off maps there on Kaluj. That is just raw talent again on the point. Here comes a teleport in. 100 Thieves now owning it, but down 40%. Cal taking out Terra early is huge for them. We are no longer going to be seeing the Hella on either side.
Yeah, unfortunately, Hella sort of losing a ton of value as this map collapsed, and everything kind of closes in terms of sightlines. You have nowhere to go. Here comes a massive Meteor M though into this Lunasaur ultimate blow. No! Kluge, I thought he blocked it.
Oh my goodness, and that is a calm situation. Nice push. GTK.
Gila.
Saw there, floating
Didorong.
upward, giving them more time to burn that shield, and when that shield popped, just having that extra height, just due to the time of the meteor coming in, that additional distance means more time to pop the shield. So well done. He does a great job of that when he knows that it's going to be risky for him to throw that meteor. He takes more height so that it's longer, the distance is longer, more time to break shield, and it always seems to work out for him. That's like the third one of those that I thought was being thrown at a shield that got a multitude of picks. Really well done again by TTK to find 3.
Yeah, that's why you have to go back and rewind and clip things so we can see exactly what happened.
Aduh, sakit banget stratnya.
Getting an elimination even through the Eternal Bond is huge.
Yeah, great focus, great shots there. Trying to retake here. They do have ult advantage again. It's all about Envy finding. Oh my goodness! And out goes a mean ult there from the on 100 Thieves.
Mereka saling nge-heal.
Purchase once again. Envy up plenty of ult besides the last stand, which could be huge here from Terra. No, not able to make. Oh, they do follow up on the side of Envy with 3-4, and Envy now is going to be making their way to 99. And this is real Marvel rivals right here. So back and forth in every fight.
Gila.
100% no portal play available either for 100 Thieves as they used it earlier. Also, no ultimates, but TTK, he's done it before with the Meteor.
Mereka fight mulu anjir, gila, seru banget.
Ultimates has to be played around for Team Envy. Window, does he want to set up a flank Ayabalgamoto? He does float early, so he's going to drop down last second, but it's a Meteor M coming up from TTK.
Yeah, he's at 96. The ult could come through prior, but not yet. Great ult. Great bubble to follow up. Unfortunately, doesn't look like it got
dapat.
Police forced out some cooldowns. Zelena going to take out Speeder early in the fight, and that is massive for 100 Thieves, who once again retook without the teleport. Up goes TTK. Can he get another? No, not able to do so. Great positioning. Good dive out there as we see a neutral. Everybody at this point is just stalling with the dance floor. Numbers should still be up for 100 Thieves, but here comes Cal back, trying to make some play with the final judgment. Delena takes out Cal. Out goes the butterfly. Does it get anything? Yes, to Terra onto Kaluj. SJP on the window. 100 Thieves is looking to close this down. As down goes another, and it looks like they may get the job done. They do, and that is map 1 for 100 Thieves.
Wow.
Gila. Gue nggak nafas nontonnya. Kayak mereka tuh war mulu, tapi kayak kelihatan setiap war tuh kelihatan kelihatan imbang gitu loh. Jadi nggak ketahuan siapa yang bakal menang tuh. Soalnya mereka bener-bener imbang satu sama lain.
That changed it. Window, unfortunately, not able to set up a good eye of Agamotto. 100 Thieves read it every single time, Shib. I mean, what do you do, I guess, when they just read it, when they look around trying to find that Strange who's floating above? Unfortunately for Window, was not able to connect. And really weird map there at the very end for Envy. I mean, it was so back and forth, but at the very, very last moment, Delena again came up clutch. Terra as well. MVP on that Wolverine.
Yeah, 23k damage there from Terra. Wolverine, such a force, saw a ton of impact. Got to show some love to TT Kaz. We're looking at him here. Some mean ultimates there, finding a ton of value. Just seems so consistent there with that Meteor M. It's just always getting a pick, and then he seems to always follow up too and get a few after all the teams are trying to escape. So really well done again. You talked about some of the tough ults there for Strange. It's, you know, it's just experience. 100 Thieves really only had the mag bubble. This is a, you know, that was a mean ult right there. I'm not gonna lie. Good pick off from window, but the ones right at the end were definitely more difficult. Good focus and good understanding of what was coming, because that was a surprise ult and still not able to get a ton of value with it. Speedery though, 11 finals, most in the game, really showcasing how good of a Psylocke that they can be. So well done. Got to show some love there. 18-7.
Yeah, Speedily played very well, but unfortunately, it doesn't matter how well you play throughout the whole series. Okay, so yeah, you're right, Shib. That shield broke on the Doctor Strange. That's why I love this game, man. It's so awesome that you can just go back, like look at a clip, like it's what we're talking about. Like you can't, yeah, and that proof off the map too. You're right, that was beautiful, but you can't see everything in this game at the same time. You know, it's like there's 6 people against 6 people, right? In a 12-player lobby, everybody has their own very impactful abilities. It's a hero shooter, and it really is a hero shooter, right? Every character does so much damage, so much value. Terra, MVP on that Wolverine, did super well. But this is why you have to go back, you know, look at VOD.
Perasaan dari tadi ininya pakai foto hero-nya dah, ini dia baru foto orangnya.
A Meteor M gonna hit a storm in the sky, and last second you couldn't even see it. It was literally like a few frames. An Invisible Woman shield comes up to save the storm. I had to watch it back like a few times to figure out exactly what happens, and that's you could agree, they probably share, right? That's the beauty of Marvel Rivals, is that you can't catch everything live. You have to look at things back.
Yeah, it's almost like the more you play, the more you can just kind of get a sense for what's happening, obviously, right? If you're new to Rivals, you'd have no idea why that didn't connect. Similar to the story as to how I just assumed that it was a Strange break and why he was floating upwards, just because I played a ton of Vanguard, so I just know that's probably what happened. So I just think that this game just has so much nuance, so much skill expression, the millisecond windows like you're talking about. But these two teams really take advantage of those millisecond windows, and I can't wait to see more of them after this break.
Kena storm lagi anjir. 2-0 Taruh AFK bentar.
Trapping all those fighting souls, but yet across the world I see you standing in my way. I remember the time, the place we used to fight, like the sun and moon, and I wonder if ever there was a time that we were friends. The night has fallen, shadows looming, and yes, that time has come for me to seek you out. We are set now for our last reunion. Break the chains, find your way, come find me. Do you remember who you really are? Show me that you are still the only one for me. I'll be waiting for you. Blink and open your eyes, raising up your fists and smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters again, we have rebels till the end. Rise and open your minds, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. We will flash, no matter where. We will fight, pushing across time and space. 'Cause you are my destiny to the end. You see the dawn, the flames burning brightly, shining on those memories. And yes, across all time I see you turning the tides. And do you see now our time, our turn? We can still fight like the wind and fire. And wonder no more that now is the only time your heart is mine. Light has fallen, darkness grows, and yes, we fight for our destiny. show me that you are still the only one that matters for me. I'll be waiting for you. Wait up, open your hands, holding on to your heart. Look inside you. Can you feel it? The sparks in you. Light it up, unleash it up. Wake up, open your eyes, raising the distance, smashing through time walls. Before the rift splinters yet again, we are rivals till the end. And rise up, open your mind, hold on to your powers. No one can stop us. We are rivals till the end of time. 한껏 높이 날아올라 눈누워진 밤하늘을 가로질러 Oh yeah, oh yeah 필요할 때 내가 널 지켜줄게 간절히 바라면 이루어지는 마법인 거야 분명한 소리 들려 여기서 저기서 날 찾으면 달빛이 날 비춰와
Welcome back, everyone, as that was what I was hoping to see from these two teams. Nail biter down to the wire, and I'm expecting the same thing going into map 2. What'd you think, my man?
Yeah, I think map 1 was a predecessor to what is to come. Map number 2, that will be even better. Not to, give it too much, hope, I think, going into game number 2, but I think both Envy and 100 Thieves look good that game number 1. 100 Thieves specifically, I think they look even better at flexing towards the very end. We get to see like that hella, like you said, we didn't get to see that with any other series really, and that's the unique part of 100 Thieves. They're willing to play more hit scan oriented styles, and Terra, kind of that ultimate flex player and that jack of all trades sort of guy, has been an incredible player for 100 Thieves and definitely is a fan favorite for sure.
Yeah, I think that we saw a little bit of a, let's match each other check there, and Delena and Terra came out on top for sure. Although we saw some insane plays there by Speedery on the Psylocke, but yeah, I expect to see a little bit different bans potentially, as we do see the Emma double lock off the rip. Obviously, an incredibly strong Vanguard right now and a super common ban, and Torch again, which I personally think is a great ban.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens when we go to Convoy. I feel like both teams just played it so well that I wouldn't be surprised if we see some sort of similar variations. And in the Sentinels Nemesis series, we saw Sentinels ban out the Mantis, and then also Nemesis started copying that. So maybe Envy is willing to run that Human Torch. No, Human Torch got banned. Sorry, I forgot about that. But we might see still some sort of Ultron gameplay alongside that Mantis potentially for Team Envy if they do want to run that Captain America dive. I think they prioritize that Venom instead of a Cap, even though Cap wasn't banned. But we'll see what Team Envy wants to do with this last ban, with these last protects.
Yeah, we saw Nero, I believe, last time on Ultron 30-1. It was definitely a dominant performance over there on the Ultron, but typically you run Ultron when you got another flyer next to you because you just get a lot of value being able to dance with each other with that drone. Ultron, obviously, a very fast flyer similar to Human Torch when you use that dash. So just a ton of movement, but I'm not sure that we'll see it now without it, but we'll find out very shortly. Kaluj, looks like Nero's going to be running that. Kaluj going to be on the Magneto once again. We do see potentially a very similar matchup, and now Window showing the thing. So we're going to be on Spider Islands, which I think we will likely see a very tight hold here for point 1.
And I like the Iron Man switch up from Speedily. And you can see this is what we talked about earlier in the Sentinels when we talked to Nectar and Invest as well earlier. He said that you banned for the team you're playing against. And Team Envy, they play a ton of Human Torch. They play a ton of that Storm. I think Speedily is like the new age, sort of one of the best flyers in the game. Amazing as well was one of those guys. And, against the side of Envy, they're just banning out that Storm to make sure they don't have that combo. And this is what we talk about, that when you get target banned, it almost creates opportunities elsewhere. And for Team Envy, the flexibility they have could enable them when we head to Spider Islands, as this map definitely is one of their best maps. So 100 Thieves, they're also incredibly strong on this map. We'll see how they react to these sort of bans and they've obviously favored a lot more of that thing gameplay. Meanwhile, for Envy, gonna potentially see some of this Ultron without the Mantis.
Emang map tuh ngaruh ya sama tiap
We're going to
tim.
see 100 Thieves at the door as it's been what they have been doing in the past, but for a moment there it looked like they weren't, but there they are again. Like we have talked
Tuh,
about.
baru mulai udah war anjir.
Right at the door here, guarantees 3 fights on point 1, and no matter what, that's a fair amount of time off the clock. Because you can tell
Harus langsung set up itu.
And look at the
Yang
strategies,
push.
just miles away and just playing very slow, trying to get some ult charge ready, but Ultron hyper aggro there from Nero to try to put some pressure back on them. They're going to have to do a little bit of a strat dance to keep each other healthy. Here comes the Thing, who does get an early clobbering time window. Going to drop Terra early, and that is an insane ult speed as we do see Delena get a res up Terra immediately. Maximum Pulse goes out, not able to find any purchase there, but Speedery is going to be on the Iron Man here, which I love to see with the Ultron drone. Window onto Harvey, Cal onto Terra, and Nero onto Zelena, and they're dropping like flies as we will see them teleport back for fight 2.
Man, that was exciting to see. I mean, look at this. This is amazing. This is like the next Marvel movie we're probably going to see is Ultron and Iron Man team up, just fly around the map, looking towards the spawn already because they can see they're going for the teleporter. So early poke on that play and also looking for backlines as they separate. Here comes that tag team, that duo of Ultron and Iron Man in the sky.
Yeah, out immediately with that Eternal Bond just to buy some time here for 100 Thieves. Speedery trying to have this off-angle play with this Ultron drone like we're talking about. Hyper aggro does get the eye out, but an immediate freeze after. Great work there. And there, Speedery, oh my gosh. Nero launching Qs for days, and down goes the entirety of 100 Thieves.
Rata.
What happened to TTK and his Meteor M? It got stunned by something. See, this is another thing we're talking about. We gotta watch that back. Like, was that window in the clobbering time probably that stunned them out of it? Must have been.
It could have been the clobbering time. I believe if you time it perfectly with the Yancey Street, it actually cancels the upward jump if you have it perfect. So we'd have to go back and check that out, but there's a small chance that was the case if it's happened once. To me, it's the only reason I know that, but I believe it was probably clobbering time. Yeah, I'm curious about that for sure. And off the rip again, Window, just trying to build that ult. The clobbering time, you're just going to try to hit as many as you can here with that punch. Delena onto Window, down goes one. Kaluz turning back onto Terra, and that's going to be a nice trade there, but still, NB down 1. Terra down, we still have ult here. We have Strangling Prison for Vinny, no ults besides Cal, who does. Ooh, Cal actually over there on the Luna, not feeling maybe as confident on the duelist after the last round, but you know, essentially is a duelist now with that left click.
Yeah, I mean, just playing the triple strategy.
Kalau udah nggak pakai duelis.
Very talented player on this Ultron, so could be the. Oh my goodness, there's that Meteor.
Soalnya mereka main 3 support.
Yeah, TTK is just unstoppable. Nero though onto Terra and TTK returning it right back. Ultron, that ultimate hyper aggro. Use it offensively and only turn defensively if you really need it because it just does so much work and you can get it back so quick. Kalush turning it right back into Harvey, and that's a nice trade back again with a pick here. Delena onto Kalush. So back and forth, trying to get the tackle. Potentially thinking about off point, but did have Bird, so didn't want to risk it. Smart play there by Speedery, who's now going to try to retake this height and keep the pressure on.
Gila. Galak banget tuh
Keren
ya.
Gets grabbed, finally slammed into his own team's wall. They're still trying to win it with Speedery on that Wolverine on the front line with the Luna Snow dance floor.
Great freeze and great patience and understanding. Nobody waking that up, even though it was taking a fair amount of damage just because Luna was around. So there's no reason to try to do damage when you're inside of the dance floor. And the numbers are now evened up. We do see an ult here for 100 Thieves. Out goes SJP of the dance floor. Going to be matched right back by Month, who's going to take that copy. And it's going to be a stall for a moment. And it's anyone's fight here as Vinny has the strangling, but he's at 1 HP. Launches it very low. Surprised that pick didn't come through. Delena taking out Window. Harvey on a Speedery. Terra on a Kaluge, and they are popping off here with 3 seconds on. They have to touch. And this is a very tricky position, and wow, 100 Thieves shutting it down on point 1. Can it be matched?
Gila.
To me, this screams that Envy, well, first of all, like you said, 100 Thieves were just beautiful with this triple and then switching over to the Hella and then playing for another fight. It looked like it was going so well for Team
Padahal
Envy.
100 itu loh.
Screams, I feel like Envy's slightly
Kena
behind
wipe out
the meta,
2
not
kali.
necessarily because of the fact they're running the Ultron comp, but
Keren
I
sih
feel like
ngejarnya.
these days, at least what we saw
Mereka
in the
balik
they were
langsung
playing Ultron alongside the
abis
Mantis,
kena wipe
alongside
out,
Warlock.
mereka balik langsung
Both of
warung.
those characters are free to play, but
Jadi
because
fast
Loki
pace
went through,
banget.
because Luna went through, I can see why they're prioritizing these heroes because, you know, oh, Loki's so strong. Oh, Luna Snow is so strong. But I feel like prioritizing the sort of enabling of that Iron Man, of your flyers is pretty important. It's always hard, though, because, I mean, maybe you can't play the Mantis Atom alongside it. Maybe you need the sustain for your front line. So there's a lot of things you need to worry about, especially in the ban phase. But I feel like EMEA might be closer to solving this sort of meta at the current moment. We'll see how the defense comes out, though, for Team Envy. But personally, I feel like they're lacking at least a little bit of damage boost in their composition. And it's because, you know, they banned out the Storm. They don't have that 12% or 10% whenever the E is not activated. But regardless, now on this defense, they're going to be running triple Strategist, triple Vanguard Shiv against 100 Thieves, who are maybe prepared for it.
Yeah, I mean, you got to show some love to Lena.
Boneka hulu.
What is it, 7? I saw 7, I believe, final hits there already.
Jauh amat.
Hits on the side of 100 Thieves last time. Oh, that's a huge tackle out of the sky. Getting some shots off while they were still flying. Incredible work there. Again, Delena with some strong shots. It was essentially like skeet shooting, finding somebody in the air. Really well done again. These tackles are massive here by Terra, and they're just following up so smoothly. 100 Thieves really learning this meta and figuring things out, and that's a pick there onto Cal. And this early fight is just heavily going to 100 Thieves, who look like it's nothing at this exact point.
Yeah, to me, I don't know. It just feels like this is a 100 Thieves tournament to lose right now, how they're playing. Envy, one of the best teams in the game, are being absolutely dismantled by 100 Thieves on the Streets phase, or on the first phase, not even the Streets phase of the map on Spider Islands. Gonna get a portal play, so they have another fight here. Speedly's now onto the Ultron on Nero, back over to that Luna Snow. So they're still figuring things out, Team Envy is at the moment, as they portal back in.
Yeah, and you still see 100 Thieves, like you're talking about, that damage boost there from Cloak. There's just always some sort of angle trying to get boost out. If you see the Terraclo coming right there, and it just affects a ton of people down this alleyway. So 100 Thieves really playing off that raw damage. Crystals go out early, and we do have a last stand, which I expect to be pretty scary right here. Tackle back into the team. There is going to be a dance floor to try to match it there by Envy. They're holding on strong. Terra just able to get so much free space and tackle. Try to follow it up. Ooh, 2 ultimates there. And still no major takeout onto Terra, who is already 42 to another last stand, and that is tough to see. That kind of value and that kind of shutdown there from SJP on 100 Thieves is just it's a lot at this level of play.
And it's a lot indeed. Envy could hold. I mean, 2 minutes left. It's totally possible for 100 Thieves to potentially lose this. And as we say in the hero shooter scene, losable. I mean, 100 Thieves have lost in a similar situation to this before. We'll see if they do it again.
Yeah, I mean, if any team can do it, it is Envy.
Oh.
Speedery make that 2 as Harvey and SJP go down, showing you how strong Ultra can be with the right focus, and then immediately just chunking to let him make 3. Speedery, a demon here on the Ultron, showing that they don't have to play Psylocke.
Iya, tadi gue juga sempat mikir kalau misalkan mau 3 DPS, mau 3 support, kenapa DPS-nya nggak pakai Ultron? Kok tadi kau malah pakai Luna? Padahal di 100 juga nggak ada flyer kalau misalkan mau pakai Luna. Ngapain di situ? Kena blok.
Honestly, didn't see him jump there. Try to find some more height to get away. And here comes the tackle back. The last stand could be huge. It is Cal on to Vinny. Cal now on the Wolverine. Up we go. Trying to take out Hella's ult, but still able to hold on a little bit. It's Delena trying to get the pick on to Ultra. The movement there. So clean. Delena with great shots still. Ultimate's back. Actually, in 100 Thieves' favor, as Mutt is using the dance floor. Terra does have that last stand, and this is where it could come down to the wire. It's all about these next 2 ultimates here, played by 100 Thieves, and it could be matched by Speedery and Window. If Okamoto goes out, can they get any picks off it? Last stand to counter. Delena takes out Window down. Is that going to be enough? Delena cleaning up Kaluge. TTK on Speedery, and I think that's going to do it. That's 100 Thieves pushes through and makes their way to the grand final.
My goodness, 100 Thieves, what a strong team they have been throughout the tournament.
Gila, grand finalnya dua tim kesukaan gue, Sentinel sama 100.
So far, but in Group A, I mean, what a dominant performance from 100 Thieves so far. Everybody talking about this group being the group of death. Now they're in the grand finals of their group. To cement themselves as that #1 seed going into the playoffs would be massive for them. Obviously, every team is qualified already, so, you know, it's not like it's the end of the world if you lose, but I'm sure, at least from an ego standpoint, everybody wants to win and make sure they're that top seed. So for Team Envy, I mean, they put up a good fight, but unfortunately 100 Thieves, like you mentioned earlier, Delena just had absolutely insane on the Hella and has looked like the best Hella so far, not that we've seen many.
Yeah, which is surprising to me. I think Hella's still in a really good spot, but obviously the pros kind of elected to not always pick Hella, but Delena just consistent on the Hella there. 9 finals is huge. You saw Speeder with 7, Nero with 8 there as well, switching over to the Luna there. But it was so back and forth. But 100 Thieves just so consistent in these fights, and honestly, that last fight looked a little dicey. It was all about that last stand follow-up after the Strange Ult, which got a few if they were able to clear it up, but Terra essentially countering it there, sweeping everyone away before they could find value and getting those picks, and it just turned from there on. It was just a steamroll, just kind of rolling them down the hill like a slinky.
Yeah, I mean, exactly like a slinky indeed. I mean, this team is so good at shaping, you know, towards the meta, towards whatever they want to play. And right now, I mean, I just want to see, you know, first of all, it's going to be incredibly exciting to see who wins this Grand Finals matchup, but I don't know. I want to see who wins between in Group B, who gets that Grand Finals win, who gets the Grand Finals win in Group A, because, I mean, we're going to want to see that matchup for sure in the upcoming weeks and as the meta progresses. As, you know, I'm sure once we go to the Grand Finals, once we move over to the playoffs, we'll change patch, we'll go over to that Moon Knight and
Sentinels,
the Thor, and then also the Star Lord changes will come through fully. You know, that's going to be exciting to see if there's any potential changes there as well, but
ya tau deh, coba lihat mana ntar biasanya endingnya suka diliatin bracket.
100 Thieves, they definitely look like the strongest team today. I think that they are my favorites. I don't know about you, Shib. I mean, we'll see what happens on the other side of the bracket. I mean, Sentinels haven't had a chance to prove themselves, but I mean, what a matchup, and the MVP for SJP on 100 Thieves. The whole team really rallied around everybody very well.
Yeah, SJP 27k healing, most in by far, 57% accuracy. Honestly, you know, 6k damage, still really strong on the damage front there. Just
KO-nya 8, final hit 10.
Really well into what he can do. So I'm with you here. 100 Thieves, you know, whether the discussion is who's the favorite to win it, they sure looked like it today.
Final hitsnya lebih banyak daripada
just absolutely clean, especially there on the assault. Almost got held. I thought Envy started finding their footing and started playing really well together. But as you saw in that last bit of the highlight, that ultimate there from Terra at the very end after that strange Eye of Agamotto was game winning.
Yeah, it was almost over for 100 Thieves on the attack, and they screwed it up before. I don't remember against which team. I think it might have been a FlyQuest game or somebody. But 100 Thieves, I think they got held on first point in Aegisil Path. They didn't do that again today. So this team, you mentioned how experience is a big thing, Shib, right? I think that experience definitely showed out today. I mean, 100 Thieves, a team that is a veteran at winning in this game in Marvel Rivals, took over after Sentinels did, and then obviously things have been changing constantly in North America. Now same thing in EMEA, but right now it's been a very fun matchup, and I think 100 Thieves look like a top team right now, if not the team to win it all.
Yeah, and we get the pleasure here coming up shortly, whenever ready, of speaking to the coach of 100 Thieves, iRemix. And I have a ton of questions from a coaching perspective about this whole new layout, so I cannot wait to get on the mic with him. And they just looked, he's so confident, so strong out there, so he's clearly doing a good job.
He is. I don't know. Well, here he is. Here's Remix for the interview. What's up, former teammate of mine? Good to see you, boss. Good to see you. How you doing? How you doing? Congrats on the win, dude.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, oh, sorry, Shib. Yeah, you first. You got it.
No, yeah, I was just going to say, I got to ask, man, I feel like with the new banning system, coaches are super impactful. I know, you know, there's a ton of different conversations of what the meta is and who you need to ban out. So can you give me your take on what it feels like as a coach? How hectic is it to decide that kind of stuff in the moment?
Yeah, it's pretty in-depth in this game. Mainly, I go team by team. So depending on the team I'm playing, I try to scout, see what they're good at, and I try to find... I make sure that my players know everything they need to know. If this happens, if they ban this, we're doing this. If this happens, this, you know? And then basically, MB, I know they play around Speedy Lee's Flyers. So I just know, like, if we take that out of the way, is the team, like, it's easier to beat them with that. So, I mean, at the end of it, versus every team, I just try to find a solution for them.
Beautiful. Oh, yeah.
Clearly works.
Yeah, your brain is huge. I just want to, real quick, let me sip my tea real quick here. Remix, speaking of Team Envy, you used to play for them. You know, what happened there? Now you're the coach of 100 Thieves. What's going on?
I mean, things happen. Maybe teammates don't work well together, and I guess I was the one that was like to blame for that, and I decided to
to
be completely honest, I went into a coaching role because I wanted to play it against MB, and I couldn't find a team to play against. And I was like, if I join this team, I think I can make them good enough where they can beat Envy. Like, I think I have a lot of experience where they'll be able to beat them. And here we are.
Oh, yeah.
I love
Here
it.
we are. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been gassing you up as a coach for a while, and clearly you know what you're doing, man. And the team looked great out there. It's obviously big competition, and you guys took that home.
Ya ngelag. Oh ini mereka
And
nih.
you have the chance of either going back up against Envy or Fly. I know Fly's not afraid to do a little bit of obscure stuff, but we've been seeing a little more dive comp coming out of the win. I want your take, just out of curiosity, of this new cap dive Psylocke with maybe Torch. Do you think that's the new meta? Because I see you guys sticking to more traditional.
Oh beda. Mereka tuh beda grup ternyata. Berarti ntar kalau misalkan 100 ketemu ini yang lower bracket menang, Envy atau Fly. Terus ketemu 100 lagi. Terus kalau 100 menang baru ketemu Sentinels. Kalau Sentinels menang juga. Bracket grup B mana dah nggak ditunjukin.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely, Rubix. You can tell you think a lot about the game. I know you don't get enough credit in general, so it's cool to see that you're thriving in this head coach position. And speaking of that, I mean, is there any other coaches that you could tell that? I mean, it's tough to tell, behind the scenes what's exactly happening, but what can you give credit to any team specifically in terms of how they play the ban and protect phase? Is there any team that you think is always a hard chess match for you and your team at 100 Thieves?
I would say probably BP is one of those teams that always have like good bang and good understanding of the meta. And I don't know much about other coaches, but for me, coaches that I would shout out are not in this game. Like is coaches that I had in the previous past, like when I was a player in Gladiators and stuff. Like those were good coaches to me. I haven't had good experience with coaches in this game yet, but I'd say like BP and maybe FlyQuest, they do some unique stuff. They always have like, it seems like they give you a comp and they try to like do the draft to brainwash you into playing something that they have the counter to it. I think that is like the strongest thing about a good coach, like manipulating the draft to make them play a comp and then countering with it. And yeah, we did a little bit of that today. We manipulated the draft to make them play Wolf, and then we just have a counter to it, and they're just getting brainwashed. But yeah.
No, it's genius. I mean, it's such a mental game, right? Like, it really is a chess match, especially as a coach. And that's why I think this new way of handling bans and maps it involves the coach so much more, and it gets really crazy. But one thing I needed to ask, just because I'm happy we were able to talk to the coach, we see a lot more Cloak due to the damage buff and how fast Cloak can get ultimate. You guys clearly electing to run that today, Harvey, on the Cloak a ton. Do you think the most valuable part of Cloak is that blind with damage boost? Because we've seen a lot more damage boost coming out of the ring.
Yeah, I mean, Cloak is almost as strong as Luna. They're both really strong characters. It's just coming down to the team that I'm playing against. We have to pick our poison. Do we want to play against these flying characters? Like, maybe Luna is slightly better, but like, those flying characters are really strong given their team, right? So I'd rather take that out of the way and then play they might have better supports, but we might have better DPS. Like, you got to pick your poison in this game given the team that you're playing against.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. And, Remix, it's obviously awesome to have you. I hope we get to bring you back on more for more interviews. It's always awesome talking to you. And, I mean, even like your path to pro before you became the head coach of 100 Thieves, playing on that generator back in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, you remember.
You call it Captain Puerto Rico. Yeah, you played on the tryouts for professional teams and other hero shooters. Now to come over here and be head coach, it's awesome to see you. So, Remix, any shout outs, any last thing you want to say before we let you move on and get ready and get some sleep for tomorrow?
I mean, shout out to every single one of my players. Shout out to 100 Thief and for giving me this opportunity. To the players, I mean, they're the ones that did all the work. I'm trying to help them, push them forward so they do what needs to be done, but they're the ones executing everything.
Awesome, man. It's been a pleasure talking to a coach. She obviously did a great job out there, so big shouts. And we look forward to talking to you again. Thanks for your time, man.
Thank you.
And love Remix. Honestly, great guy. You know, I just don't like what he did with my team back in the old days with Michael. I mean, that's sort of something that can be discussed another day, not for the Marvel Rivals discussion, but you know, Remix, great player, great coach as well. I know Captain Puerto Rico streams a lot himself on Twitch, so make sure to check him out. iRemix as well. A very funny guy. He's amassed his own little cult following as well, and I think, you know, it'll keep growing with how he is as a personality, like you've seen, Chip.
Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to witness. I mean, the discussion and the thought about how much time he puts in per team has got to be crazy, especially per band basis. The amount of just permutations of like what you got to think through per band against you is insane to think about. I can imagine like the Excel sheet or whatever his process is.
He's a smart guy.
Yeah, it's got to be. So, yeah, it was awesome to hear his perspective on the meta and what he wants his team to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing, that he said that really well. I think the toughest part about this game is that sort of thinking about what you're going to put the enemy team on. You don't want the hardest part for these unsigned teams, for like Techie XD, for Ego Death, right? They have coaches and stuff, and it's great to have a coach as well. You need to take that sort of mental pressure off of your players, right? Because you want to put them on the roles to succeed, and sort of give that role, like Remix said, to the coach to sort of lock in on okay, what are we going to make them play? This is what they're going to play, and then take that sort of mental pressure away, the decision-making process away. It's sort of like a Mark Zuckerberg type of thing, you know, removing as many hard decisions as possible and simplifying your job. And for an esport pro, it's a very complicated job that giving that sort of delegation off to Remix is definitely helped for 100 Thieves.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm looking forward, as we look forward here into the future for the next 2 days, talking about the strategy coming up and what a coach can do for your team. We are going to dive into today's results. We had Shroud X 2-0 against Techie. These matches, you know, they may have been 2-0s, but they were closer than it seemed. FlyQuest 2-0 into Ego. They were quick, but the teams definitely were showing up, especially towards the second map. Nemesis and Sentinels. Sentinels looking really good. Nemesis looking to come back here if they can win that lower bracket, come back and take them out. And then, obviously, similar story here with Envy. 100 Thieves. It was a tight match. It's a 2-0, but it was a tight match. As we look forward to tomorrow, FlyQuest versus Envy. Who's going to be meeting the opposition in the finals? In Shroud X versus Team Nemesis. What do you think, man?
Both series are going to be amazing. We get the rematch from Nemesis and Shroud X, and then FlyQuest versus Envy, a classic matchup. And FlyQuest is looking a lot better than they did in the first day, and you know, they're slowly improving. I think they've gotten a better grasp of the meta, and we're starting to see, you know, the top teams back at it. It feels like this is a repeat of, you know, MRC days. The only real difference is the fact that we don't see Team Magnets and Dark Zero gone, Citadel gone. You know, a lot of these teams out of the tournament is definitely a big deal. And with the Envy versus FlyQuest up first, I think that'll be my match to watch, man.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tight either way. I mean, it's down now to best of 5 starting tomorrow, so there will be some more understanding. That's where like another level of gameplay comes in. It's the bans are always one thing, and you did it for 2, maybe 3 maps, but now it's guaranteed 3. Teams are going to start understanding who the problems are and start eliminating those problems off the rip. So whole nother level of strategy coming into play. Speaking of coaches stepping up when they need to, now is going to be the time as we push forward tomorrow.
Yeah, the coaches definitely have an underrated role for sure. I think behind the scenes, like you mentioned, they do a lot of the dirty work, and I know that this discussion has been on them for sure, like a lot, but you know, it really is the case. There's so many good coaches that are in the game, so many coaches that are trying to improve as we're still in the early days. Coaches still trying to figure out what they even should be doing. You know, like we said with the 100 Thieves, figuring out how to, you know, do these ban processes. So, and with from what we talk about too, with this ban process being so important with the asymmetrical bans or asynchronous bans, whatever you want to call it, you know, non-global bans, it definitely makes it way more important, the ban phase as well, to prioritize the team you're playing against and also to focus on the meta. So it's 2 different things, and then also map. So very hard game. Marvel Rivals is at a macro level, at a competitive level. That's why we say that, you know, metas really aren't even solved. The meta being the best heroes that are played in a composition in a 6 versus 6 scenario. Those sort of things are not decided until the very end of a patch, usually, considering all things. So we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, you figure it out right before it wipes, right? Like, that's just how it is. I mean, these teams are using a ton of different heroes. We saw value with a ton of different duelists. We saw less Torch today as he was banned out more frequently. Less Punisher still banned out more frequently. the rise back of things like Hela and Wolverine. There's just so many characters at this point that can be played at a high level. But I gotta say, I had a ton of fun casting with you today, brother. These games were insane. That final matchup may have been a 2-0, but it was incredibly tight down to the wire. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have been Iron Shiv, and that has been Dogman. And what do you got to say, brother?
Will you be with me tomorrow for my co-stream to watch EMEA? You're going to be there in the morning. You're going to wake up at the bright old time of 8 a.m. PST. It's only 11 a.m. for you, or 12 p.m. for you. What is it, 11, 12? Yeah, about 11 a.m. for you. Wake up, man. Wake up.
We will see you tomorrow, brother.
Come on, man. I can't believe you.
No, man. It's been a ton of fun to watch.
It's like my voice is dying. I'm like, I got to sleep, dude. I can't do this anymore. Give me a break. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. But I'm sure everyone will see you there on your stream tomorrow, popping off and just enjoying and talking about these teams. So, and it's been a pleasure, brother. Once again, I've been Iron Shit. Thank you guys for joining us. Dog, man, it's always a pleasure casting with you. It's just a ton of fun, man, as we dive into these teams. And we will see you guys tomorrow, 7 p.m., best of fives, as we push forward to the grand finale. Who will it be? Hopefully your favorite team. I'll see you in the next one.
Otso kare. Udah, gua mau tidur. Bye bye.